gun now, even in the NFL, and doing a lot more out of that rather than being under center and some of those things. So we're seeing it really change pretty quickly in that league.
Charlie Brewer is about to play an offense.
Welcome to SicEm365 Radio. Health is important, so is your budget.
Deals. And Bonds hits one high. Hits it deep. It is out of here. 7:56. Bonds stands alone.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
2-0. Ichiro to right and deep. Back goes Parra to the wall, and it's off the wall. 3,000 is in right field, and Ichiro is racing for third, and he's done it.
Have you downloaded the SicEm365 Radio app? Do it today on the App Store and Google Play. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, here we go. This last day of, I don't even know, is it week 19, 20? What is it, Craig? I lost track, and that's a good thing. That means we've been on the air a long, long time, since April the 6th, that Monday.
Show 90.
Show number 90.
So this is week 16.
No, it's not.
17.
No, it's well past
18.
That. No, I think
I
it's
do
19.
math.
That's why I
didn't do math.
We'll hear from Baylor special teams coach and also safeties coach Matt Powledge. He'll join us momentarily. He was with Ron Roberts at the University of Louisiana. They're in a staff meeting that started at 2. We'll have him once that meeting ends. Don't make me text Dave Aranda to free up our opening guest. Rachel Barbeau today. She's been hired by the Big 12. Change the narrative. She had a big role in trying to change Baylor's tone and feeling on campus 3 years ago. She'll join us at 3:25. Grayson Grundhafer on many things as Baylor will start actual different levels of workouts in football practice tomorrow. Drew Davison, Fort Worth Star-Telegram on TCU, that Paul has a stretch of a bunch of Big 12 programs will feature. A couple of high school coaches, Ricky Sargent, Hearn, and Craig Horn of Italy will join us at 4:45 and 4:50. And Calvin Watkins will join us, a late addition to the show from the from the Dallas Morning News on Mike McCarthy had a Zoom meeting and media presser earlier today. Craig Smoke in studio, Paul Catalina, David Smoke on this Friday afternoon. First day, this normally would have been the first day for high school football players to get in pads. They had actually been in somewhat shells for the last couple of days. I went to Connolly, went out to La Vega because it's close to where I am. And it was interesting, Craig, that they're kind of going about their business. And, of course, no scrimmage for another couple of weeks. But right now, everything seems to be going according to plan.
Well, first things first, 90 divided by 5 is 18, so this is the end of week 18. Okay. So we clear that up a little bit. So inbound weeks 19 starting on Monday. But, yeah, it's just good to see people back out there doing their thing and, just getting back to it, getting back to some normalcy. It's nice.
Standing by on the Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac Baylor Bear Hotline. That sounds like that Chrysler 300 that I'm driving right now. Is Matt Powledge. He's the special teams coach and Baylor safety coach who just came out of a staff meeting. Joins us to start the show today on SicEm365 Radio. Matt, I know tomorrow the different levels of workout, you guys are getting closer to getting more and more back into a routine. Your thoughts about where everything is and just getting closer to getting back to whatever normal might be.
Yeah, we were talking about it this morning, just as a staff, how excited everybody is, myself included. I woke up this morning and it felt like Christmas morning, right? Like, hey, you're headed to the office to have your report day meeting. Tomorrow is going to be practice 1. I mean, just the energy right now. And then talking to players yesterday, I mean, they're so fired up. I mean, we can't wait to get back on the field with them and doing football activities, obviously.
Matthew Powledge on SicEm365 Radio, despite the fact he's a Sam Houston State graduate. I'm a little bit perturbed by that. We waited until I had to bring that out because I'm a proud SFA guy. But Sam Houston has owned that rivalry, at least in football, not men's basketball. Did you know that you were coming on a show with an SFA guy?
I did, man, and I told Taylor Bryan that me and you can't be friends. And I also wanted to point out that I think we won 9 in a row. We're going for 10 this year. So yeah. we'll just keep on keeping the streak alive.
All right, that's Matt Powledge.
Coach, I'm not great at math. I'm an FSU guy. That's only a freshman course, so we can move on past that. But that sounds like nearly a decade to me. I'm just saying.
That's right.
It sounds like it's been about 5 decades to me. Matthew Powledge with us on SicEm365 Radio. Paul?
Coach, you step in the secondary with the safeties. That's a position that has a little experience. You know, there were people that were gone, but with Christian Morgan back and JT Woods, you've got some guys with playmaking ability and especially guys with some good head on your shoulders. What's been your assessment so far?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Between JT, Christian Morgan, Jaron McVay, even Jalen Petrie has kind of converted, playing a little bit of star right now for us. Those guys right there have experience. They haven't been the guy per se, but hundreds of snaps, have been taken on defense between those guys. They're very intelligent, very smart, high care factor, and they just go about their business the right way. I think that they're very, very hungry at this moment in time too, for it to be, their time, for them to be in the spotlight. So I'm excited about what those guys bring to the table for us as a defense and as a football team.
Coach, what was the position you mentioned for Petrie, the star position, and what does that kind of entail?
Yeah, so he'll usually our star position is usually aligned to the field, kind of a field side overhang, so kind of a nickel spot, if you will, that a lot of people play. Sam linebacker in the old school 4-3. So that guy can do a multitude of things for us. He can be a blitzer. He's got to be able to play zone coverage. He's got to be able to cover a slot, things like that. So he kind of fits that mold in a lot of those regards, and he's a very smart, intelligent, and very, very competitive kid.
You have always been known for being very good at what you do when it comes to being a coach, but also the recruiting part of that. That's not just something that happens. Did you learn under someone in particular, or did you kind of soak in over the times you've been at various programs like Sam or ULM or UL, or even the time you were at Kentucky? Is that kind of like you soak in from everybody you've been around?
That's right. I really feel like I've been blessed to be around some really good football coaches in my tenure. And, starting back at, when I was a GA, it was, Mike Lucas, Alan Rudolph, some of those guys right there. And then going to Northwestern State, Bradley Del Tito is a huge mentor of mine. And I was with him at Kentucky with Mark Stoops, Derek Ainsley, some guys that, I was able to work with and see it done the right way. And then most recently, Casey Keeler, Matt Viator, and then also Billy Napier's, I think, one of the best, at exactly what we're talking about right now. So those guys right there have really kind of groomed me, and I've kind of pulled things from each spot and each coach, and really try to do my best of just watching and listening, learning, and being all ears and eyes.
How much better recruiter does it make you when you start out somewhere where you have to maybe do more of a sell job than if you're at a Power 5 school?
Yeah, I think it's completely different, right? So I think a lot of times the Power 5 is like glitz and glamour. It's, hey, look at this. We're on TV. Look at the big stadium, brand new, right on the river. Like, all that helps, like, tremendously. And then when, you've been some of the places I have, it's like, don't take them to the team room. Don't take them to maybe not the stadium or maybe not the locker room, right? So how do you have success at places like that? It's about the human element, really, to be honest, and showing them that you care about them more than just a player, but as a person too, and how you can help them and develop them. So that's kind of what I've pulled from some of those places, and that's and if you can do the things that I talked about at the lower levels, right, and have success with that, and then bring those to a place like Baylor, then I think you can have a lot of success, in the recruitment process.
Coach, you had obviously been working with Ron Roberts here recently, but as far as the rest of the staff goes, how familiar were you with Dave Aranda or anyone else for that matter? What were your kind of prior experiences, and what's it been like together as a staff kind of getting to know each other?
Yeah, so it started in 2016, I believe. I was at Louisiana Monroe, and Les Miles kind of started this, and Ed Orgeron's been pretty strong on it as well. But, hey, let's keep the other schools, out-of-state schools, out of the state of Louisiana in the summertime for camps. And so that was really huge. It was, don't let Texas come to such and such high school and host a camp, or don't let Alabama go to Louisiana College and host a camp. So in saying that, all the camps kind of starting in 2016 were held, by in-state schools, and LSU would travel and maybe go to your camp if you were having one, and then you were invited to go to theirs and work their camp. So I worked a multitude of camps at LSU and met Coach Aranda. I had a 3-day camp where I, basically coached the linebackers and worked with him specifically. And so that was huge. That was kind of my first familiarity with him and getting to know him. Obviously, him and Coach Roberts go way back, 15 years ago. They were obviously on staff with each other at one point in time. So working with Coach Roberts at Lafayette, we had the ability to, jump on I-10 and, get into their facility, and same thing, vice versa. So there was times where we would go down there and meet with those guys. So I probably had a lot of familiarity with them. Sean Bell, me and him knew each other. Brian played at Sam Houston, was a really good player. Sean coached, at Magnolia West, which was right down the road from where I grew up. And, I recruited his school a couple of times. And then Dennis Johnson, the D-line coach, me and him have been roommates on 2 separate occasions at Northwestern State and at University of Kentucky. And David Wetzel, I used to recruit Reagan High School. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of guys on staff that I either had good relationships with or knew pretty well. George Munoz, me and him were like 2 ships passing in the night at Lafayette. He was there for 6 or 7 years. And then when he left his last year, I came in the next year. So, there's some guys here that I knew and had great relationships with.
Do you feel like, and that's the way it is a lot of times in anything, the networking or knowing people, and eventually you come together, but do you feel like because of what you have dealt with as a staff, first year under Dave Aranda, then the suspensions of everything because of COVID, do you feel like that's allowed you to, despite not having a lot of time with the players, still have a close-knit group that kind of understands each other because of all these tie-ins?
Yes, sir. I think so, and I think that's something that Coach Aranda has really harped on. Right? Hey, let's use this as our advantage. Let's FaceTime our kids every morning and make sure that we're developing relationships with them. When we Zoom call them and hey, we're going to talk about cover 3 today. Before you get to that, make sure that you ask them how their day's going, and maybe ask hey, how are things around you? How's your mom and dad? How's your brothers and sisters? And we've reached out to parents and things like that. We've tried to do the best that we possibly could with the situation that we're in, and it has been a challenge. There's no question about it. But one of my favorite quotes is, adverse conditions are our advantage, right? So when things get tough, right, and they're tough for everybody during this time, but let's overcome that and do it better than anybody else is doing it right now.
Matthew Powledge, our guest right now on SicEm365 Radio.
We're told that you're an amateur food critic. I would like to know how you're an amateur, and I would like to know also how do you go pro?
Oh, man. So this has started a long way back, but I'll give you all most recently kind of what we're doing right now. Me, Brian Stewart, Taylor Bryan, 2 of our video guys, Johnny Satterfield and Robert Perez, and there's been a couple others join us as well. We're doing a burger review around town right now, and so every Thursday over like the last 4 weeks, we've got a burger from a restaurant. It's got to be the same as every time. So basically, the criteria It has to be, it's a double bacon cheeseburger, however you want the fixings. And then you got to get fries with nothing on top. You can't do like the animal style fries at whatever that place is. In-N-Out. Yeah. So you got to go, the same as when you go to the next place. And then we graded off size, taste, how good was the bacon and cheese, how good was the bun. We rated on a 1 to 10 scale. And then we fill out the form. We post it on Brian Stewart's wall in his office. And so that's where we're at right now. And I really enjoy that. I'll be honest with you, after faith, after family, after football, it's like food's right up there next, like for me. And that's probably, my mom's Greek. And so at the house growing up, we used to have, awesome dinner meals and, on any type of holiday. I mean, we would do it big, right? So I love food, and that's just kind of, at the core of me, to be honest. So, yeah, that's kind of an example right there, I would say.
That's awesome. That's a lot of fun. I'm sure you guys have had a blast with that, and hopefully you found some good burgers along the way as well, Coach. What would you describe your coaching style as? And when people see your players out there on the field, what do you want their thoughts to be about what they're seeing from your guys?
Yeah, so I think when I think of maybe how I want to be seen or how I've heard myself described, energy, relationships, I think are really big for me. When you see my players, what I would like for you to see, and I hope that it shows up on tape, is just hustle, hard work's been invested, and those guys have a lot of heart. And those are the things I think that'll not only take you a long way in football, but in life as well, right? I think this game, is a lot about relationships, and this profession is a lot about relationships. I think life is too, right? The trust, communication, things like that. So those are probably the main things that I would say that I would want to stick out and would want people to say.
You mentioned all that food, and now, but I've been told from sources unknown that you've dropped some weight now, that you were like, listen, I've gone through a lot of that as well. We've all done that at some point, but that you've dropped from 235. What are you now? So are you sticking?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I got notes.
Right. That's right. Well, I was 235 in college. I'm about 195 right now. I probably haven't been over 210 probably since, in the last 10 years. So my weight does fluctuate. When we get into that conference, schedule, kind of the meat of it, I'll probably be weighing about 185, 190. When we get done with the holidays, I'll probably be around 200, 205. But, so yeah, it does fluctuate. I don't do a great job of working out like I should. So I just kind of have to, monitor what I do eat and try to stay in decent shape. But anyways, yeah, sorry.
Matthew Palage, I know you got practice at 4. A couple more questions with us on SicEm365 Radio.
Yes, sir.
You also, your sister's a coach, a softball coach, I believe, at the University of Houston. How much do you guys share just philosophy or motivation, or do you get a chance to kind of just discuss coaching college kids these days?
Yeah, absolutely. We've talked a bunch. This was going to be her first season at the University of Houston as a coach. She was All-American at Alabama, heck of a softball player. And so she just kind of entered the profession and was really excited that she did because she has all the tools to be a great one. And during this quarantine time, we've had the ability to share different ideas, maybe that they were doing with their players, maybe what we were doing with ours. We've been able to share just kind of philosophy, how she saw things. They've had some really cool meetings where maybe they've talked to, had Zoom meetings with some major league coaches, right? We've had Tony Dungy, come talk to us, RG3, guys like that, and just talking about just, athletics in general and being able to share that with her is really special.
You're also a golfer. Your golf game's done now, right? It's over.
That's right.
You're done now that everything's kind of working up. What's the lowest handicap you've had other than just clubs?
Oh man, I listen. I'm not a great golfer. I just really love the game. So I go out there half the time and I don't keep score. I just play the course.
Just enjoy it. Yeah.
I just enjoy it. I'm not super competitive with it in the sense that sometimes I just like going out there and playing just by myself, just trying to get better. I'll usually probably shoot. I play 9 holes mostly, just to be honest, because 18 I just start fading away for whatever reason. So I'll go out there on a good day and probably be +4 on 9 holes. That's probably in the meat of the summer. But usually around February or March or spring break, I'm probably around 10 to 12 over. So, when you take off 6 months and you don't play a lick and you come back to it, there's a lot of rust to knock off.
No question about it. You were a walk-on player in college at Sam Houston State and became a guy that made a name for himself. Do you feel like that also allows you to understand those that maybe weren't highly recruited or are trying to make a team and make a name for themselves by making a play in a practice or during a scrimmage or something like that?
Absolutely. And that's probably one of the things that gets me most fired up is when those guys emerge during training camp or maybe early in the season with some of those opportunities. I was a guy like, hey, they didn't even know I was showing up the first day of workouts in the summertime. They're like, who are you again? They're like, what high school? Who told you to come here? And next thing you know, right, a couple of years later, I'm playing important snaps for our football team, and I just think about the guys that invested in me in college and the impact they had on my life, me as a player and a person, and I hope that I have the ability to do the same thing with some of the walk-ons or maybe the guys that have a chip on their shoulder coming in here as 3-star guys, or maybe they weren't highly touted, whatever, but help them reach their goals on and off the field.
Hey, Coach, since you spent some time at ULM, I wanted to ask you with what's in the news today. They're going to play La Tech, which is the first time in forever. Having been in that area and been a part of those programs, how big is that news that La Tech and ULM are going to finally play for the first time in a while?
Yeah, that's huge. It's huge for that community. It's huge for both schools. I would say just kind of being there before, La Tech, they're big brother, right? Mm-hmm. ULM's like little brother. And so I think there's going to be, if they can keep that going, that would be great, because if you've ever been to Monroe, Louisiana, it's like, hey, you cross the bridge from West Monroe to Monroe and you're in kind of ULM territory. But when you're in West Monroe, it's still, you kind of got a lot of La Tech feel to it. And so there's always talk every year like, hey, who's better? Like, if we played, who would win? And it just never happens, right? And you're like, why not? They're right down the road, 30 minutes from each other. But for that to happen this year, that'll be awesome for both programs.
Every staff, and this is it, I know you got to go, every staff has had kind of challenges because of the spring, but this is a brand new staff put together with some returners from the Matt Rule staff. If anyone sits there and says, well, it's going to be hard because you haven't been together, you haven't had spring drills or whatever, what would you say to them about what you've seen you accomplish as a staff even during these times?
You don't mind repeating that one more time, do you? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a new staff, so there might be some that think, man, it's going to be a challenge. But everyone's had to have that challenge, whether they have a staff back or not, head coach back or not, have been there for 5 or 10 years or not. What would you say to anyone that may think it's a challenge because you haven't really been together that long and had to deal with COVID and no spring drills about what your staff has accomplished in these times?
Yes, sir. Well, we've had a lot of time to plan and to organize and to put a plan together that we feel like is the best plan for our kids and get these guys ready to play. And it is a challenge for us. And we kind of have a saying on special teams around here: we do hard things better. So that's kind of our mindset right now, right? With it being tough and it being hard, we're going to do it better than other people. So we've really been very intentional, about our plan. Now it's just time to go execute it.
Matthew, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Good luck with the burger challenge critique and all that with it. Thank you so much. Matthew
Thank you
Powledge,
so much for having me.
safeties and special teams coach at Baylor. with us on SicEm365 Radio. Coming up next, Rachel Barbeau, who's now connected with the corporate sponsorship with the Big 12. She, of course, showed up on the Baylor campus back, 3 or 4 years ago and made an impact on many lives. She's next on SicEm365 Radio. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. August, of course, the heat of the summer continues to bear down, and they also have some hot deals for you. 0% financing, no payments for 90 days remains in effect on most new vehicles, including the 2020 Ram Lone Star Crew Cab. 0% for 72 months, no payments for 90 days. The Jeep Grand Cherokee, the most awarded SUV in the world. 0% for 72 months, no payments for 90 days. And also the same offer on the Jeep Cherokee, the Jeep Renegade, and the Jeep Compass. Alan Samuels loaded up with new inventory. Summer clearance event continues, and multiple locations in 5 different states, relationship with dealers across the country to find any vehicle that you want. 100% on board to keep you safe during your shopping experience in person, or if you want to go online, you can do that, and they can deliver the car to you by going to AlanSamuelsDCJ.com. Alan Samuels, an FCA Customer First Award of Excellence winner by J.D. Power, one of a handful of dealers across the country to win the award. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs. Knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Every man knows that you got to get it right in the bed. Hey there, Jay from Pickup Outfitters here to talk about a sensitive issue and asking you, please, don't drive around town exposing your stuff. Please, cover that truck bed. This is a very serious form of truck nudity. Trucks without bed covers, and it's an easy fix. There are so many different types of covers depending on your needs and style, from folding, rolling, locking, retractable, anything from black to silver, even paint to match the original cover of your truck. Now, all these are hard, rigid covers, just like they should be. Now, there are also some soft bed covers, but you know. So don't be driving around with a bare truck bed. It's like letting people peek underneath your covers. It just ain't right. See the different types of bed covers at createacommotion.com/covers. Won't you help us end truck nudity? Stop by our showroom and see all our bed cover displays at Pickup Outfitters, just off of Waco Drive at 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
It's the heat of the summer, but the real heat is what you're cooking on the grill, smoker, or in the oven. So Waco Custom Marketplace can be your go-to playmaker for summertime grilling. You can't go eat anywhere else? Be your own chef with custom ordered and cut ribeyes, sirloins, fillets, New York strips with a focus on high-quality beef at a competitive price. Waco Custom Marketplace also has fresh deli cuts with sliced turkey, ham, pepperoni, or corned beef. Waco Custom Marketplace also your home for the freshest seafood in town. Salmon, shrimp, mahi-mahi, great priced chicken products, whole birds, tenders, chicken breast, and wings. Waco Custom Marketplace with smoked items unique to Waco, house-made bacon, summer sausage, boudin, hot links, and German sausage. Every seasoning for every occasion, grilling, baking, or frying. Your hometown grocery store with canned goods, pasta, fresh baked bread, buns, chips, sauce, condiments to pickles, charcoal and lighter fluid, cold beer and wine, best kolaches in Waco, mouth-watering cinnamon rolls, and here for the community every single day, helping you avoid the long lines in crowded stores, serving quality products to the Waco community. Go online for the weekly value boxes. Family owned and operated Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
With more more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131, 254-598-8131.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The SicEm365 Radio Live Guest VIP Hotline is sponsored by Stonewood Dental. We are all in this together.
Back in June of 2017, Baylor football, of course, had been through some turbulent times, as you know, and Rachel Barbos showed up on campus, and part of what she said to the Baylor team back then was, your worth is not tied to football. She also was one of the few nationally that came on the campus here during that dark time and said, we believe in you, or I believe in you, or people believe in you. And it made a big difference, and some relationships with her through players and coaches that will last a lifetime. She joins us now on SicEm365 Radio because the Big 12 is now part of Rachel Barbos' Change the Narrative. She joins us, Paul Catalina, Craig Smoke, and David Smoke. Did you think back 3, 4, 5 years ago, Rachel, when you began this narrative of what you wanted to tell young men, football players, athletes, whatever, would lead to you being like with a conference or where you are today?
It's really, and by the way, thank you guys for having me back. You're some of my favorites, by the way.
Thank you.
I never could foresee this, ever. And I just said that there was a newspaper that contacted me, an international newspaper, and did an article. And I just said, when I started this in 2016, I thought I would speak on the side and continue to be a sportscaster. And as it grew and grew and grew and grew, and somebody, let me back up and say this, somebody said, didn't Baylor put you on the map? Baylor did put me on the map because of what happened there. And because, as you mentioned, I went in and told them, you are worth it. I believe in you, right? Like, I'm not talking down to you. I believe in you. I'm lifting you up. I started at FSU in 2016, in August of 2016, and then I was with Clemson 14 days before they dismantled Ohio State en route to the national championship. And after the game in Tampa, they win the national championship, and coaches and players are running off the field screaming, we did it! We did it! We changed the narrative! And I mean, I nearly fainted on the football field. I was like, what? But going to Baylor, really, because of, for some media members and for some people that love the bad news, if it bleeds, it leads. Let's vilify an entire university and football team. People had nothing to do with it. It caught the media's attention. It caught national media's attention. I was also a national sportscaster at Sirius XM. And so, yeah, I could never, ever foresee it. But what happened since the last time I've talked to you guys is really all of 2019, being a woman of faith, God was after me and saying, it's time for you to lay down that microphone, the broadcasting microphone, and I want you to go all in on I'm changing the narrative. And I kept going, but God, but God, but God. And the message in my heart was, from him was, it's you spent 17 years analyzing and breaking down players. It's time for you to motivate and lift up. And it came to a point when we started talking about mental health in the movement where I can no longer stick a microphone in a guy's face after a game knowing what I know about his mama or about his trauma or about his depression or about his anxiety or his dark night of the soul. It didn't feel right to me, and it became an issue with my soul, and that's why I decided to retire from sportscasting in October and go full-time into this movement right before a pandemic, by the way.
Wait, hey, we launched something in the middle of the pandemic early on in March, late March, early April as well, so we can relate to that. Paul?
Rachel, when you when you talk to players, when you decided this, part of it is that there seemed to be two schools of thought on the way that players would be. Like, either you're going to be a good guy all the time, or you make a mistake and you're a bad guy forever. And then, for lack of a better term, there's a bit of a more gray area in there. And part of it has to do with, where guys came from and what they were taught when they were younger. Where did you first start seeing that a lot of guys hadn't been just told some of these things about how they're supposed to act?
Yeah, so first of all, let me say this about that. I believe none of us are too far gone, too dirty, too broken, too messed up, right? I truly believe that. It's the first reason I ask. Now, listen, let me be real clear here. If let's say a young man hits or a young woman hits, they have to face the consequences of what they've done, right? If there's a sexual assault, you absolutely have to face the consequences of what you've done. But I'm the person that asks, why did you do that? Why did you do that? What did you see? What kind of anger do you have? That doesn't separate you from the consequences, right? But I want to know how you got to where you are, that you felt like that was the thing to do. Was it a flash of anger? What happened? Where is that? So I think I separate myself from, I think a lot of people, because I don't want to throw you away or immediately cast you into this category. I just want to know how you got there, but you still have to deal with the consequences. Where I learned that, the answer to that is this: it was very quickly on in my talks, 40 plus schools now, to where guys and gals, particularly men, would raise their hands and say, but how do I show her I love her? Or I screwed up, and I cheated, and what do I do now? Well, tell her, okay, and then you work on yourself, and if you can get her back, you get her back, and if you don't, you don't, right? And so and talked about how it's normal and actually good and anti whatever to have one woman and to be faithful to her, right? And so the guys started to ask me really simple questions. Like, I had one guy ask me at a school, and I was so proud of him. He was so brave. He raised his hand. He said, Miss Rachel, what does it mean to provide for a woman? He said, because Instagram tells me I should get her nails done and help her pay her rent. And I said, baby, there are 1,000 ways to provide for a woman without ever spending a penny. You can write her a love letter. You can be the man you say you are. You can keep your word. You can pick her a flower. You can get her, a recycled card. There's so many ways, right? And so very early on, I learned that we expect people to know better. And we say all the time in society, oh, well, they should know right from right and wrong from wrong. Actually, you don't know what he or she saw growing up. You don't know if mama stepped out, daddy stepped out, grandma raised them, mom beat the crap out of dad, dad beat the crap out of mom. There was substance abuse, alcohol abuse. We don't know any of that. So it became soul training very early on in the movement.
Rachel, to see where Baylor was when you first interacted with the program, and to see what they turned into last year, where they not only won, but they won with a style that was just gritty and physical and made opponents respect them. And I think the way that they carried themselves and the way that Matt Rule carried himself went a long way in maybe dispelling some of the now false notions about players in the program and whatnot. But to see those young men and that coaching staff that you got to know have that success and be able to celebrate their hard work, what was that like from your vantage point?
Oh my gosh, it was. So let me tell you a couple of things about that journey. So came in summer of 2017, then came back in August, and then came back to run the Baylor line. So first one, I'm going to start there. I come in, and they are hardened. There are scales on their eyes. They are tired of being called all the names they were called and being lumped in. And I came in, as you mentioned, and said, I believe in you. I love you. I came here to lift you up. I came here to tell you you're a king. And it was like something magical happened in that room. And 20 to 30 players waited for me afterwards. And one wrote in my pink book, I have it here. I didn't know. I found it the next, day I was speaking at Alabama. And the message said, thank you for coming for us. We thought the whole world had forgotten us. And it was just, I drove away from Waco back to the airport, bawling my eyeballs out, tears of purpose and happy tears. So then I come back, check this out, in August, and Matt Rule says, let's talk about love. I said, okay. And he said, you and I are going to talk. At the last minute, he said, I want you to talk. And I said, okay. He said, because a lot of our players have have dads and people coming back into their life because they all of a sudden have success. And let's talk about forgiveness and love and acceptance. And we even went so far, and this predates everything that's going on right now in the world in a public setting. We talked about racism. We talked about, man, you may not know you don't know what he walked through. You don't have the same background. You don't have anything. And instead of saying, oh man, I understand that. What you need to do, and what we can do as a world and as a team, is say, I hurt with you. I don't understand what you've been through. Will you teach me? I have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and I'm going to shut it. Will you teach me what you walked through? You teach me where you've been racially profiled. Will you teach me what happened here, that you were from rural, wherever it was? Teach me. And so we learned the concept way back in 2017 about hurting with each other. And I said to them, a football team can teach the world a thing or two about coming together for a common good. And man, is that never more true right now, because you come from different backgrounds. You look different socioeconomic backgrounds. And all you players come together for a common good. You don't care what he looks like. You don't care where you come together for a common good. So we were talking about racism before it was on the national scale. And then the last visit, this is insane. I run the Baylor line. I get ready to run the Baylor line, which is the coolest thing ever. And I found out just before that I had 2 heel spurs, 1 in each foot. Okay. So they give me the B, and they're like, and I'm like, listen, I'm slow. I'm going to try to run. And they're like, listen, you just don't get run over. Like, that's it. So they try to give me a head start, and I start running, and halfway across the field, I come up limp. So it goes B, and then all of a sudden the AYLOR.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I almost got killed, and literally had to take a wheelchair from Waco to my next destination. I was playing in a golf tournament, and I couldn't play. I just had to putt. But that was one of the last experiences I've had. I've been in touch with the football program, and asked to come back and asked to be able to work with you guys. I think it'll be different now that I'm working with the whole conference. But, I have beautiful, beautiful memories. So proud of Matt Rule and those players. Still friends with a lot of the parents, to this day, and just absolutely adore and love Baylor fans.
Rachel, we appreciate you. It's when I saw that note yesterday, I was like, this is fantastic. Wanted to get you on because it brings back memories that are good and some that were difficult, and that you gave young men. If you don't mind, if you could answer this, and I know you got to move on, and we do as well.
Yeah.
How many of those players continue to stay in touch with you at the 40 schools that you've been to their campus and touched, even if it's one soul, one heart? How many of those players remain in touch with you? Not on number, but
hundreds. Yeah. Hundreds. I mean, 500. I mean, I can't quantify it. Probably 10, 20, 30 at each school. The messages. Some hit me back 3 years later. Some hit me back right afterwards. I've been in their weddings. I've gotten pictures of their births. I mean, it's crazy of my kings and queens across the country. And I know you guys are probably out of time, but I cannot wait to tell you what we're going to do with the Big 12. I was just on with the senior staff this morning. We have amazing things planned for the student athletes, the support staff, and the coaches of the Big 12. And it's not being done anywhere else in the country.
Can't wait to see it. We'll have you again. Rachel, thank you so much. God bless for what you're doing.
Thank you, guys.
Rachel Barbeau, I'm Changing the Narrative program that she launched back, been to 40 different programs, started it back in 2016. Couldn't have been a better timing for Baylor football. She's been involved now 3 different times with the campus. When we come back, Grayson Grundhafer on Practice About the Launch for Baylor. He's next from SicEm365.com on SicEm365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, the people that you can count on. It's employee pricing. It's continuing on at Richard Carr. Summer savings event going on right now, and you will continue to pay what employees pay all month. Hey, look, this was supposed to run out at the end of the month, but it's continuing on, so why not take advantage of great deals like qualified buyers saving over $7,000 on 2020 Acadias? How about $7,000 in savings on 2020 Yukons or 2020 GMC Terrains? Or maybe you're not looking so much at the SUVs. Maybe it's a truck that you're after. How about saving $8,000 on a 2020 GMC SLT Crew Cab? They've also got the Buick Enclaves, one of the hottest selling SUVs this year. It's got a quiet ride, first-class seating for 7, loaded safety and tech features, and it's an uncompromising full-size SUV. Right now you can save $7,200 on a 2020 Buick Enclave, plus save thousands on Envisions and Encores during this massive summer savings event. They've got great prices, free oil changes with a new purchase, and in-town priority warranty service every time you purchase a vehicle at Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Richard Carr Motors are the people you can count on. A local family dealer run by Baylor Bear alumni. They just want the chance to earn your business. So stop by their daily disinfected showroom, see their safety-focused staff, or they can bring the test drive to your home, because your comfort and safety is Richard Carr's first priority. Find them online at Richard Carr, that's KARR.com, or check them out in person, Highway 6 at the Imperial Exit. Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's Bail Bonds. Open 24 hours a day. Payment arrangements available. Call Chapman's Bail Bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
How often have you said it's time to get in shape? Every day, every week, every month, maybe for as long as you can remember? How about starting today? I promise if you'll just join Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness now, you'll thank me later. Hi, this is David Smoke, offering a variety of 40 group exercise classes every single week, including boot camp on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5:15, plus spin, body shaping, Pilates, yoga, and bar. And oh, there's a free kids club as well. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness open Monday through Thursday, 5 to 10, Friday, 5 to 8, Saturday and Sunday, 7 to 7, and personal trainers Christian London and Randall Corley. World-class tennis facility with pros Britt Coleman and Joe Rosa with lessons, camps, and special events. Spacious and clean workout rooms, locker room for men and women, both with a whirlpool and sauna, and now there's touchless bottle filling stations. No intimidation, tremendous camaraderie, an entirely new atmosphere, and yes, you can do this, but you have to walk through the front door. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Grayson Grundhafer of SicEm365.com. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Fall camp. Transition from the OTAs to preseason prep beginning Saturday. There's a story from Cole Barber on that. There's stories from Grayson Grundhafer on everything recruiting. There's Trust the Podcast that launched as well this week, as it does with both Grayson and Craig every single week among a few others. And then Grayson just put up a couple of minutes ago about a possible player that's interested in Baylor. You want to start with that, the offensive lineman? Grayson, thanks for your time. SicEm365 Radio from Dallas Jesuit.
Yeah, definitely. So Ryan Lingyell, the offensive tackle at Dallas Jesuit, 6'5", 275-pound tackle prospect. He's going to be making his decision here in the next few days, I think. And there's definitely some rumors swirling. Obviously, Baylor has been in the mix for a while. Texas offered him a week ago. And so that's who the battle is between. It's an in-state rivalry matchup between Baylor and Texas for where he's going to end up. And so he's going to take the next couple days to try to talk things over with his parents and take some last-minute calls with the coaches from both schools and try to figure out which place is the best for him.
Grayson, right now as the season gets started, how does that change what they're going to do recruiting-wise with all the weird things going on, if at all?
Yeah, so I would say Baylor's actually in a great spot for that reason. They already have 17 commits in the 2021 class, probably only room for 4 more, maybe 5 more. Maybe they can stretch to that point. But the reason I say that is because they really don't have to have a whole lot of focus on recruiting besides the guys that they've already built great relationships with. So, again, I think Baylor's going to be able to focus a lot on football and be able to kind of evaluate things on the recruiting end a little bit more while just building the relationships that they've already established. But having those commits already secured is pretty massive for this coaching staff so that they don't have to really feel the pressure if they only had, say 5 commits and 15 spots to fill.
Grayson, as we open camp here, what is a storyline that is of the utmost interest to you?
Oh, man, that's a great question, because you look back in this whole time period during coronavirus, it was always pretty much about how would the guys come back and how would they be able to respond, especially with the new coaching staff. And so I think that's always going to be a storyline when you change coaching staff, but especially during this time period. I just think it's going to be really interesting to see how the coaching staff mixes with the players, when they actually have full pads on and when they're actually able to go out there and really practice for the first time. I think how well and how quickly that mixes is honestly probably going to be the biggest factor in how this season ends up going.
We had Matthew Powledge on earlier today on the show, and that's already up on SicEm365.com and our Twitter pages. But he started telling us about, and everybody, even maybe radio stations or those who are, I don't know, people who run businesses, investment firms, whatever, there's always the networking. But Craig, you asked him about that. They're roommates, and there's guys who have been at the same camps and people who had coached together at the same schools. How much do you think, Grayson, in the end, that's not only helped with recruiting because they know each other so well, some have played together, but also how it might help them through the fact that they haven't had much time together on the field?
Oh, it for sure will help. And I think, honestly, that was probably a big factor in a lot of the hires that Coach Aranda made. I think you go around and look at most of the hires, and he had some sort of connection with pretty much all of them, or at least knew them pretty well personally. So I think that's huge. I think this is a group that really likes to coach together. I think they like being around each other. And I think that's going to pay huge dividends. And obviously, Sean Bell and Joey McGuire have been with the program for a while, so there's not going to be any transition period there. I'm just really curious to see how it mixes, but I think you are onto something. I think because they know each other so well already, that should really help propel them during fall camp, help them be able to have those tough conversations that they're going to have, whether it's about the depth chart or whether it's about guys at different positions or things like that. I think it will really help solve that problem.
Grayson, he mentioned that Jalen Petrie is working a little bit at safety. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's great. I know if you went and looked at the roster update, I know I put it up on SicEm365 a while ago, but he actually lost like 12 to 15 pounds this offseason. And a big part of that was so that he could get faster. And I think you're seeing kind of why they maybe wanted him to change his body a little bit so that they could kind of move him around a little bit more. I think the star position is another option for him, but it's great to see that he's put on enough speed that they feel confident to put him back there. And honestly, that's just a credit to that kid's work ethic to be able to lose that kind of weight, put on the speed that they needed him to. And obviously, he's always going to be a Baylor fan favorite for what he did, during his recruitment.
Grayson, I know we've talked a little bit about it, but Brian Bolam was out very abruptly, and Michael Woodson takes over. I saw where they introduced somebody. I guess Michael Woodson announced the addition of a grad transfer, Charlie Broom, today. But you and I have talked about it on the podcast. But for those who haven't heard it, what are your thoughts on Woodson and what he'll do with this program?
Yeah, so I really am excited for that hire, Craig. I mean, we talked about it a little bit on Trust the Podcast, but just I think the camaraderie that he's going to have with this team already, because he's been with the program for 4 years already. He knows all the players on the roster. He's been there. They know him. They have a great relationship with him. And I think you're seeing it already pay dividends. 2 grad transfers announced already, and I think they're going to have opportunities to maybe bring in another one here in the future just because of the roster spots and kind of what they have to do still. But this is going to be a very talented team, and I think it prepares Coach Woodson really, really well for a successful season. And I think obviously a successful season would only help his case to being the full-time head coach and get rid of the interim title, which I do currently believe that is definitely a possibility for him. I think he's going to do a fantastic job with the program.
Grayson, back when the Brockermeyers made their commitment to Alabama, one of the things I believe you said that week was because of that, because they obviously are lineage or heritage or whatever you want to call it, legacy with Texas with their father, and there's one Brockermeyer who's on the UT campus and a player, but that could also have a domino effect on the offensive lineman that UT then has to go find. Is that the possibility with this head-to-head with them when it comes to Langiel?
Yeah, definitely. This is a kid that they got on late, much later than Baylor, and they're trying to make a push. And honestly, they're going to have to make a push with a lot of offensive linemen in the state now because of missing out on the Brockermeyers, because of things trending in the wrong direction with Savion Byrd, and also missing out on Ruben Fothery. They're kind of in a position where they are probably going to have to go and offer kids that are committed elsewhere or kids that they're trying to find. And so, they found Langiel after Baylor did, and they put in an offer. So we'll see if they're able to seal the deal. But it's a big one for both programs. I know Texas is looking for probably 4 or 5 offensive linemen in this class, and Baylor's looking for the same. So this is a big one for the Bears, and this would give them the 3rd commit on the offensive line if they're able to land him over the next few days.
Grayson, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Grayson Grunhafer, SicEm365.com, with all sorts of nuggets with us on Friday at 3:45. Coming up next, the 4 o'clock hour will include at 4:30 Drew Davison, Fort Worth Star-Telegram on TCU. It's been an interesting week for them. But also a few more nuggets, including a former Baylor star who has signed in the NFL, staying on the West Coast or western part of the country. This is SicEm 365 Radio. Ideal MRI, idealmri.com, where they are helping lower and helping you with healthcare costs, bringing down the cost of healthcare while maintaining the highest of quality when it comes to MRIs. Even during this time that you still have bumps and bruises. You still have something that might be broken or torn or whatever. So if your doctor says, hey, we need to get an MRI, ask them about Ideal MRI. Significant illnesses still happen, right? Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you and us through the most difficult time. State-of-the-art technology. I have been inside their MRI machine. I have been through the process of getting set up for an appointment. I have been through the MRI check-in and also talking to the specialist and the techs and then going through the MRI. The machine It's just like the ones you see anywhere else, except it is amazing how smooth the transition was from getting the appointment to getting checked in to going through the MRI, because I'm not one. I'm a little anxious when it comes to getting into something that maybe feels like I'm being claustrophobic or feel claustrophobic. It was amazing. It was absolutely as smooth as I've ever been through. And they can help lower costs by, in some cases, for your MRI by the thousands. Why would you not try or check or ask or contact Ideal MRI in the Central Texas Marketplace in Waco? There are no hidden costs. They can also help you with your insurance, and if not, they can help you with also the possibility of making sure there are installments to help you pay off what it needs. But most of the time, your MRI is going to be like under $500. But you must contact them. IdealMRI.com. Dr. Rob Maxey and his staff, they're amazing. In the Central Texas Marketplace, IdealMRI.com. Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131, 254-598-8131.
The big summer clearance event is still underway at Allen Samuels in Waco. Now update your essential transportation needs with 0% financing and no payments for 90 days on almost everything in stock. Brand new Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cabs, ready to roll with 0 for 72 and no payments for 90 days. And Ram Tradesman Express Quad Cabs feature up to $8,500 in values. We'll save you thousands at your friend in the car business, Allen Samuels.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
In great times or tough times, you always feel better working with someone who's there for you. When it comes to great banking, people here count on the First National Bank of Central Texas, here to help you, your family, and your business. Personal banking via phone, desktop, tablet, and drive-through, and business banking tailored for all situations, including yours. Amazing tomorrows from the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Texas Board Certified Personal Injury Trial Lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here They're used to lights. They're used to water in their mouth. They're used to experience. They already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Welcome back to SicEm 365 Radio.
Playing at the goal line. Brewer keeps it again.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Las Vegas Raiders have announced they have signed free agent linebacker, former Rams linebacker Bryce Hager, who played at Baylor. Also, last night, at the end of the night, we had discussed this. Texas Tech women's basketball coach fired one of the assistants, no longer listed in the directory. And, Craig, you had a note, is that right, about one of the senior administrators for women's athletics as well at Texas Tech?
Yeah, Ryan King put out on Twitter that Texas Tech Athletic Director Kirby Hocutt says Executive Senior Associate Athletics Director Judy Henry, who was over the women's basketball program, will be reviewed and likely removed from being the administrator over the Lady Raiders to hit a complete reset among leadership. So looks like she will be out as well as they basically blow this thing up and try to start over is what it looks like they're going to have to do, or at least what they're attempting to do. I don't know how Kirby Hocutt's affected in any way, but I think he's got some answers to give, given that this was all happening apparently for quite a while, and you've got 12 players transferring in a short amount of time, and just as the AD, that's your responsibility. So I would think there's a little bit of heat around his neck right now as well, and deservedly so. But, that move had to happen as far as the coach being dismissed. I just didn't understand how they could not do that, and so they did, and that's the first move, so we'll see what all the rest of the moves are.
Well, and it did seem to me that it took – I mean, if this stuff was going on, it took a little while, but – you got it. You probably she's only been there for 2 full seasons, right? So, it's a full season of what's going on here, and then it goes on for another season. And you're like, okay, that's it. And then I'm surprised Kirby Hocutt didn't ask himself the question: 12 people leave the program in 2 years. That's not if 12 people left your football program that has 85 scholarships, you'd be alarmed. 12 people leaving a team that has 12 scholarships, or whatever it is in women's basketball, I would be like, well, how are 12 people asking to transfer out of this? Why is this happening?
I spoke with a couple of friends of mine that I know who are in media relations about the story, and one of my parts was, wouldn't it have been better if Texas – I'm not sure if Texas Tech said no to any current players, but that Brittany the girl that was a star player for them, I forgot her last name. She's in the WNBA. Not sure if she was asked about it. She wasn't quoted. She's a Brittany Brewer star. She was a lefty. She's a fantastic player for them. There's too much there. There might be some that's embellished. There might be some that are disgruntled, but there was just too much. And, Kirby Hocutt is their Mac Rhodes. Very popular guy. And, once was on the college football playoff committee. I believe that's right. And maybe still is. I don't know. It's been so long. It seems like
the last year, a couple of years or something. Yeah.
So you hate to see it. I know that we, I hate it. I hate it. But I got from Nick last night on Twitter. If you only knew, Smokey, how hard it would have been to be fired as on a staff at New Mexico. I think it was State because he was out there at the time. That just goes to show you one of the backgrounds of the assistant coaches is what he's saying. Because it wasn't a big deal from them out there, and she wasn't retained by them, and that's when he thought there was maybe some smoke about one of the assistants as well. But it's unfortunate, and it's the part of everything that was mentioned. The dog thing would have been interesting. I can't imagine that. Was the strength and conditioning coach a little bit creepy?
Oh yeah, for sure.
A little bit, almost like Michigan State type creepy.
And he got reported pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, that it happened, because of the cycle that goes, like you do a couple things, it happens a couple times, and maybe you talk to some other people, and you're like, oh, he's doing that too. We can't all have the same injury that he's testing here. And then you report him, and he was gone. He was out the door. So, I mean, he resigned, though. Texas Tech didn't fire him. He just resigned. Now, I don't know if they said, like, you probably
It might have been like Larry Michaels with the Redskins.
Yeah.
Or the formerly known. God, I'm going to say that until probably my last breath. Sorry. But that might have been it. All right, we didn't get the chance to go through some of the headlines or some of what was going on because we went straight to Matthew Pallage. Glad we did. So I was at La Vega and Connolly today. Connolly because I was doing some work with our broadcast with Shane Anderson, just trying to set some things up. So guess now, La Vega has been searching for games. They added 5A perennial power Cal Allen to their schedule.
That's just a little.
So they start with West Orange Stark. We understand their tradition. What Conley's becoming and has gotten better under Shane Anderson, that's a rivalry there, right next to each other. And then they're going to play like a neutral game, I think, in San Marcos against Corpus Christi, Cal Allen. And then Argyle. And I Paul, did you ever get that audio that I sent to you?
From
me this morning with Don Hyde? I asked you to send it back to me. Can you check to see if you have that? Because I can get that done maybe between now and play a little bit of that. Because I was out there asking him about just getting back into pads.
Okay, yeah, I've got it.
Well, it's good that you saw that.
Well, you need to name something other than new recording.
It says like, send back to me. I mean, to me, if you text me, so that's that. Also, the UIL's Medical Advisory Committee recommending school districts follow CDC guidelines. If a student athlete lives in the same home as someone who tests positive, that student athlete should probably be quarantined for 10 days before returning to play.
Probably, yeah. If somebody they're living with tests positive,
This is like the alphabet, A, B, and C. Unanimously passed a motion, COVID-19 return to play protocol. If a student tests positive, patients need to be cleared by a physician before they can return. That was something that Tom Herman in Texas, we're back at it today. First time it was fun. It was cathartic, therapeutic. I know guys really, really enjoy being out here. Those that were able to do not cramp up, make it through the whole practice as they kind of get started. Everyone is. And Craig, you mentioned ULM and La Tech. We brought that up, about a week ago, about trying to play the game, and they're going to, November 21st at Independence Stadium. That's great.
Yeah, the first time they will have played in several years. We were talking about it. I forget exactly why at this point, but maybe it was because of La Tech and Baylor's game that we still don't know whether that's going to happen or not. But, somehow or another we stumbled onto the fact that those two being a half hour away hadn't played in 15, 20 years, something along those lines. So cool they'll be able to do that. Obviously, when we talked to Matt Pallage, he had a little bit of experience with what that rivalry is like off the field, and so he seemed to think it'd be pretty cool. And I'm sure the people in Louisiana, and I've seen a lot of people in Louisiana reacting to that news today and the comments and whatnot, and they're all fired up for it. Like, it's a much bigger deal than I ever would have thought it was, but for the people in that area, they are very excited about these two teams playing.
How about this? Northwestern's football team, remember this was a big deal. They were shut down, remember, because of a positive test? Come to find out, 37 players in quarantine, it was a false positive. I wonder, and I'm not saying there's not a lot of problems. There's people dying here. But, God, that happens too much. And you wonder how often that happens. So they shut down workouts, which was the right thing to do because of the positive. Come to find out, it was a false positive. James Madison, that's a really good Division I AA or whatever you want to call it. FCS, is that right, Paul? Mm-hmm. FCS team?
Yeah.
Fall campaign, they have suspended it.
I think it's probably not something that happens as often as, people would want to say, but I bet you it happens a lot, enough to where
the positive?
false positive, because people we're in the woods on this.
What were you saying about the rumor out there, the possibility of what is the group of five, not the Power Five, the group of five? There's just a couple of little speculation out
there. Chris Childers from Sirius. I'll try and find exactly what he apparently said, but he had allegedly said, I guess on their show or what have you. Does he have a Twitter? Okay, he does. Allegedly, he had said that there was going to be a group of five team that was going to end up canceling their season and that I was going to have a domino effect of sorts, I guess throughout the G5. Did not allude to, I guess, exactly who that would be. It was very vague what I saw, but it was just to mention that, like, yeah, there's a lot of discussion, a lot of rumblings that there's going to be a group of 5 team that pulls out on Saturday. That'll domino the conference and then domino other conferences. So we will see who that is. I'll try to find more of what he said, but that was the basic gist of it.
North Carolina had 3 defensive backs opt out. It's supposed to be a really good team they have with Mac Brown year 2. 3 of them opted out. Mentioned the Texas Tech women's basketball program.
Okay, here's an update from Childers. He said, in response to Pete Thamel said, Mac coaches are open to a spring football schedule if that becomes the only option. The spring option is pushed hardest by Northern Illinois, and obviously they're one of the bigger schools in that group of schools. So Childers did say Northern Illinois is not playing football this fall, and an announcement should be coming soon.
Wow.
So there you go.
Russell Okung, Oklahoma State star, Pro Bowl offensive lineman.
This is bad news for the Panthers.
No, they just traded for him, correct?
Yeah.
Signed a 4-year, or has 1 year left on a $53 million contract. This is a Matt Rule player. Is contemplating retirement instead of over the coronavirus concern. He started with the Seahawks, correct?
Mm-hmm. Been around a long time. I mean, he's kind of, been around long enough to now to where I guess it wouldn't be a surprise. I mean, he's approaching, I guess he's still early 30s, but
31.
I mean, he's approaching a time where, if you've made a lot of money and you're worried about all these health risks and you're, maybe feeling like, hey, you just don't want to play anymore. I mean, that happens too. Guys just don't want to play for 20 years just because they can. So
and he had pulmonary blood clots, which is blood clots in your lungs. And
certainly.
What does COVID-19 hit the hardest is your lungs. So,
right.
I get it,
The Philadelphia Phillies fans, during a game with the Yankees Thursday, were just barking. They were barking during the game. They were behind a fence. Have you seen this picture?
Yeah, I just want to print it out for you. So, I'll tell you.
It looks like a bunch of kids wanting autographs.
I have equal parts disgust and respect for the Philadelphia sports fan, because disgust in the fact that nothing is going to stop them from being jackass fans. Like, there's nothing that's going to stop them from being the worst. But that also means you got to respect it a little bit in that, okay, look, you can't go to the games. Yet Philadelphia, as if they were somehow prophetic, said, we've got to have a way for people to come and just be Philadelphians to the opposing team in any scenario. So they can, and the umpires, so they're blowing an air horn every time the Yankees pitcher pitches. And so Aaron Boone goes and talks to the umpire and says, hey, we got to do something about this. This is insane, because if they were in the stadium, they could do something about it. But since they're not in the stadium, they're on the street. The umpire is powerless to do it.
Like behind Wrigley Field or up at Fenway. You can't do anything. That's interesting. They got his attention, though, and they got in his ear.
Those places that Wrigley Field wants to shut down, those apartment buildings, are crushing it right now.
Oh, I'm sure.
That's the only way you can watch the Cubs.
D. Carter 299 on Twitter, direct message to me. Smokey, Ricky Fowler had a 6-inch putt. He went to tap it in, whiffed in what became a bizarre double bogey. He absolutely just went right over the ball and whiffed. And again, that's in this tournament where the cut line's about even. I'm not sure how that might affect whether or not he makes the cut or not. And Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy and Justin Thomas are all on the course right now, so we might...
Tiger's in the rough a little bit here.
What? See, as soon as I look, we'll try to update you. Lee, by the way, a beautiful round earlier today, leads the PGA Championship with all those who are in by 2 shots. Tommy Fleetwood, Craig Allen Smoke, second.
Very nice.
Went
Very
6 under 64 today. Jason Day, 6 under. And a handful of others. Paul had a really good first day. Probably the best. All of us had a really good first day. Nobody kind of put us out of contention, but there's some guys that have to struggle. Hatton.
Justin Thomas is
Justin Thomas. They got to fight to make the cut.
Where'd you say Tiger was?
He was 2 under, started the day at 2 under par.
Okay. So my guys, where are we at here? So Fleetwood's obviously doing well. DeChambeau, McIlroy.
DeChambeau's in good shape.
Okay.
McIlroy's okay. He's not.
So I'm not in danger of losing after today, most likely.
Right.
Well, yeah, we all have
somebody missing the cut.
We all have one guy that's kind of hovering around there, but nobody is the good news is we don't have anybody that like Judd Gibb, who's 21 over right now.
What?
Yeah, he was +7 yesterday. He went +14 today.
How?
Who?
+14?
Who is that?
Judd Gibb.
Oh no, it's a hard. I mean, you
Yeah.
probably well. See, this is the PGA Championship, which means PGA pros that run clubhouses at golf courses have qualifying tournaments and stuff to get into the tournament. That's why
The audience needs to know I'm not a golf expert by any means.
No,
Jimmy Walker's not going to make it. He was 4 over today, finishing 7 under for the tournament. So
glad I didn't go with the homer pick then.
Sergio Garcia, he's out. He's 6 over. Graham McDowell, 6 over. He's out. Let's see.
Some pretty big names.
Yeah.
We'll update the PGA about a couple more times between now and 6. 4:19 is the time on SicEm365 radio. Did you guys see the video of the A's bench coach?
Yeah.
Ryan Christensen. What's ever happened? I know he's apologized for it.
Yeah.
It was a little bit strange the way he went out with a straight arm as if he was
he was very
Heil
much
Hitler.
given the Hail Hitler sign.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't
it looked
understand.
exactly like that's what he was
Said he
trying
went
to do.
blank. He just went blank. And that normally would lead to him being, gone.
Oh, yeah.
But he apologized. I'm not sure what's going to happen since then.
And look, I'm not somebody that's seeking out, trying to damage someone's life or misinterpret a motion or a signal or a word that they might say. I'll leave that to the people that are just so filled with hate. But I watched that, and there's no oh, well, no, that could have. No. It was very clear and obvious what he was doing. So I don't know what was going through his head. I know he apologized, but. Yeah, that was really bizarre. He said it was unintentional, but it looked exactly like he was trying to do it. You know what I mean? I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but
a player
it was just
came by him and he said something, and he kind of realized he jumped. And it's almost the reaction initially was, "Oh my God!"
It might have been.
So
yeah.
maybe but it was not very smart.
I'm not going to call for him to have his head cut off and fired from everything possible.
Well,
I'm not going to do that.
Because you're different. You have a soul.
He walked out going to give somebody a high five, which they're not supposed to be doing anyway.
No, there you go.
I mean,
yeah.
so it's all this, and so Liam Hendricks told him, hey, no, you can't have a straight your arm is straight. And then he's like, what? And he's like, oh, I see what you mean. It's like Heil Hitler. Yeah, I mean.
So give the guy the benefit of the doubt on that, but still, you got to be a little more aware of what you're doing, especially with a sign like that.
Thanks to Deontay Epps, by the way, on the note about Bryce Hager from earlier in the hour. We appreciate him for that.
And great for Bryce. I mean, we just kind of went over that, but, it's another job, and he gets to be a part of the first season in Las Vegas. So that's really cool and historical. And, maybe he'll find himself a nice role in that team. Not real sure. Certainly, I think he'd have, some type of an impact on special teams at the very least. But, Bryce has been able to carve out a nice little career as far as just he's been in the league for, 5-6 years, if not longer than that at this point. So great for him to have this opportunity. It won't be the same type of opening season in Las Vegas that it was planned to be by any stretch, but it'll still be very cool, and that's great he's got that opportunity.
Couple of unique stories, right? We have Drew Davison at 4:30 on TCU with Paul Catalina as he starts a Big 12 tour that starts today, and we'll run it over the next 2 or 3 weeks or so.
Our media days, if you will, in a roundabout
exactly,
way.
since there was a great idea by Colt Barber. An alpine glacier in Italy is threatening the valley below it. Experts were closely monitoring Mount Blanc glacier today, a day after they evacuated 75 tourists and residents amid fears the glacier could soon break apart and crash into the popular Italian alpine valley. Valerio Segor, a glacier expert in the region of northwestern Italy, told reporters the next 72 hours were critical, which lies under this glacier, which lies under a massif on the Italian side of Mount Blanc, the highest mountain in the Alps. Those forced to evacuate came from homes and holiday lodgings and whatever else, and barred from going back into the scenic valley.
Wow.
This is about the size. I looked at this. It's the size. The glacier is likened to that of a soccer field, 80 meters high, massive ice. And any kind of shift in the temperature, whatever, it could come tumbling down from God knows 10,000 feet, 9,000 feet.
Well, for those of you who say global warming is a myth, glaciers don't go away because the weather's good. I'll just say that.
Yeah. This is interesting. I had not heard about that, but apparently this happens from time to time. Apparently there was a couple that was killed a few years ago. They were just driving down a mountain road and just got sideswiped basically by a chunk that had broken off. So beautiful, beautiful area. I'd love to go up into the Swiss Alps and I wouldn't be doing much climbing. I'm not suited for that, but just the scenery is so incredibly beautiful. It's like something you'd create in your head, but there's also dangers, like things breaking off the mountainsides, and glaciers are disappearing at a pretty rapid rate.
And our buddy David Kay, he's the head of athletic communications at Baylor. We had him in the studio with the story involving, of course, Kevin Barrera and the transplant. So last night I just happened to see this. This is insane. This is his Twitter. 2 things on my grocery list weren't available at HEB tonight. Then both things show up in my Facebook ads a few hours later. He shows a picture of the 2 items he's looking for, which was one was disinfecting wipes. Not just, it was Lysol.
Mm-hmm.
And another was like a double roll of Bounty paper towels. So he shows the pictures, right? That's what he was going to get. It's part of 2 things he didn't get. Then all of a sudden, in his grocery list, in his notes section, 2 circles, and to the right of each one, Lysol wipes and Bounty paper towels that he did not put in there.
This is in his notes. So Facebook is in your notes.
It's in the Facebook page. Yeah.
I've never had my notes changed before, so that's really weird.
Well, he put it in his notes to get
right.
that. So he made a shopping list, and so Facebook got it out of the notes.
Gotcha. I didn't suspend my Facebook. I deleted my Facebook many years ago. They are not the only company that is, potentially surveillancing us or surveilling us. I know that's a big worry for some people. It's just Big Brother and things like that. I mean, there's no doubt I've had similar situations. There's no doubt when you Google something, unless you're privately surfing, but if you just Google something, I have that happen all the time. You agree to the personalized ads and things like that. So when you Google Lysol and then you get on Twitter and there's a Lysol advertisement, it is very strange, but it's also because, they've been looking at that information. That's why you have to check the box of personalize my ads, and they take the information of what you've been looking at, and that's why your timeline all of a sudden is really geared towards certain things that you're invested in and not so much wide open. But no, we're living in a strange era. There is no doubt about it. And everybody, I think's had a moment or two where they're kind of like, whoa, that's really weird. It's almost like somebody's listening to me. And look, if you got the Amazon Echoes and you've got your phone constantly on and you've got your computer mic constantly on, there's always like that threat or that possibility.
Well, that was
weird, man.
That was very strange. It's like that story of Brett when he got into his car on a Saturday morning, headed to Kyle Field, and there was no messages that he was getting, no alarms, no alerts, no nothing. Kyle Field, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then guess what?
Well,
that's different though. We've explained this. If I go get my car after the show today, it will tell me it's this many minutes from home because it knows every day I'm going the same route and then the same way back at the same time. So that's just more predictable. And a little
like
bit
when it
different
says
in my
I'm 6
eyes.
minutes from where you live. When I get in, okay.
Because it's just used to you doing that all the time.
The 2 places that it'll tell me I'm 10 minutes from Waco Regional Fitness or 11 minutes. Or it tells me, and sometimes it tells me that just when I point that direction.
Right.
Like I'm going that way. But you believe me, it used to tell me I'm 12 minutes from Sonic Drive-In. So
don't get me wrong, it's weird. I'm not saying it's cool or anything, but I think that's more predictive than it is.
It's predictive behavior. Like in the morning, you get up, you drive to a place to work out, or you drive to your office, or you at certain times of the day. Okay, all right.
So when I get my car after the show today, it'll be like 15 minutes to such and such, and it'll just do that even though I might be going somewhere completely different.
Especially if you're pointed in that,
right?
Like you start driving that way.
But it is strange. It is kind of weird of kind of deciphering what is just great technology and what is invasive technology, which we're kind of dealing with both at the moment.
When we come back, we will start, and Colt Barber kind of threw this out on the table. Paul used to do this a lot. and we'll do it throughout, hopefully, what will be football season, although that remains to be seen. But
I used the same open.
The tour. Oh, you did?
Yeah, didn't have the.
We're not going to get sued or anything.
No, I'm good. It's all
good. That's good. I want to be.
Yeah.
And so it's a tour, and we'll hopefully, when games begin, we'll start touching in on some of the programs around the country, and not just the Big 12, to kind of bring you what might be happening in Maryland or what might be happening, whatever. We start with TCU. Drew Davison of the Fort Worth Star-Telegram with Paul Catalina. Our Big 12 Media Day, so to speak, is next on SicEm365 Radio. PettyClinicLowT.com, Dr. Kent Petty, trying to reach you to become the high-performance man that you want to be. How? What's your testosterone level? Do you know? Have you ever thought about that? I really had never thought much about it, but it's part of when you get older. As you get older, and things change, no different than anything else. One of the things I stress about Dr. Kent Petty is the testosterone level, and I'll tell you how you can find that out, how he can help you out, how you can find out the results. But he also, and this is for men, PSA check for prostate cancer. That's a huge deal. And sometimes it's tied into testosterone. So Dr. Kent Petty, contact him, PettyClinicLowT.com, PettyClinicLowT.com. And then he will set you up to go get your blood work at discounted rate, discounted price. Tell him Smokey sent you, and then he'll get your blood work back, look at your numbers, testosterone level, obviously something very important, your PSA check as well, depending on how old you are. That's, as you get older, that's something else you have to make sure doesn't get too high, where your testosterone level can get too low. And based on your testosterone level and blood work, he can put you in a program to help you become the high-performance man that you want to be. PettyClinicLowT.com, PettyClinicLowT.com. Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131, 254-598-8131.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance, and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Waco's newest gym, Halo Athletic Center, 5725 Bagby Avenue, right behind Region 12 and across the highway from the Central Texas Marketplace, where motivation, inspiration, and hard work are the driving force. State-of-the-art equipment, indoor and outdoor track, locker rooms, showers, yoga and bar classes by Duality Yoga, bod pod potty composition analysis, and registered dietitians, all under one roof, where we rise above. Come join the Halo Athletic Center and be a part of the change. Your change.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
This is Paul Catalina's College Football Focus.
2:05 to go. It's Duggan on the pull read. Downhill touchdown! Max Duggan arrives against Texas.
Drew Davis in Fort Worth Star-Telegram joins us here on SicEm365 Radio as we preview TCU. And Drew, this probably won't be as much of an X&O preview right now because TCU this week, Gary Patterson makes news with the incident that happened with the team and then the apology. How has he come through this, and where does he stand with his team right now?
Well, certainly, I think he probably, clearly regrets saying what he said. His heart was somewhat in the right place in encouraging his team not to use that word and not to use that slur. But he repeated it himself, and he apologized. So I do think, the team has kind of rallied around him and supported him. And I think if you just look on social media, there's a dozen, former players, current players, a lot of people who came out in support of Joey Patterson. So I think he's going to be okay through all this. He's saying the right things, doing the right things to kind of make amends. And clearly the players believe he's contrite and committed to making a change because, they still have his back for the most part. And, the TCU administration, the athletic director, the chancellor, all of them appear to have his back as well. And it really, I think when you kind of look at it big picture-wise, is the teacher, he was trying to make a teaching point, and it became a teachable moment for himself. So it's one of those kind of things. Not saying it's right, and clearly Gary Patterson would say, he shouldn't have said it, but it looks like the program and the team are ready to move on.
Yeah, and he is a guy who can get a little bit I want to say heated or kind of out in front of himself a little bit on occasion. And to me personally, that's just kind of what I chalked it up to, because I think if he was an actual dyed-in-the-wool racist, we would have found that out before now.
Oh, without question. I mean, there's Gary Patterson's a tough coach, and that's what he's known for, and he demands a lot out of his players. And clearly this is something another demand and trying to meet team expectations and how they handle themselves during key meetings and whatnot. And he was trying to prove a point, obviously made a mistake in doing so. But this is just kind of the standard. It was more of a coach holding the team to a certain standard rather than him being any sort of racist. And I think if you talk to any player who's played for him or is playing for him right now, they would say the same thing. There's no question he's demanding, he's tough. But he's always got their best interests at heart.
All right, so season-wise, the last couple of years they have gone through kind of the quarterback ringer. This year, that appears to be at least solidified with who they know who it's going to be. But are they confident that knowing that going in will help the offense get better?
Yeah, I think so. And Max Duggan is a guy who was really thrown into the fire last year. I think most people, when he stepped on campus, expected him to redshirt. But he emerged as the best option at quarterback, and he went through kind of the expected growing pains of a true freshman in that sort of position. The big question to me is just, will his accuracy improve? I mean, he had a great target in Jalen Rager last year, a top NFL draft pick. Will he be able to find that accuracy and really improve that? And he completed 53 or 54% of his passes last year, Paul. And what is a realistic jump? Can he get up to the high 50s, maybe even 60% realistic, or is it, more 3 or 4 percentage points? We'll see. But, there were games he looked on and was sharp, and there are other games, he was overthrowing guys or underthrowing them. So clearly that's the number one area where he has to make the strides is in accuracy. But as far as off the field intangibles, leadership, kind of being the leader of the team, he checks all those boxes.
Is this a team, I mean, most people have them picked in the middle of the pack in the conference. Is this a team that can contend for the Big 12 title this year, or because they do have a young quarterback and believe me, they've lost some guys, to the NFL draft last year, that there's probably another year away from doing that?
I think they could surprise people. I think they're your stereotypical dark horse. And, when you look at the defense, they got a great secondary led by Trayvon Merrick, who will be playing on Sundays, is a really highly touted player. So they like what they've got there. Garrett Wallow, the Big 12's leading tackler last season. They've got to, up front, they've got to get more pressure on the quarterback. I mean, they had the fewest number of sacks with the Gary Patterson area last season. So they've got to get back to getting pressure on the quarterback and getting sacks. And they feel like they've got some guys who can do that. So defensively, they should be able to hang in every game. Then offensively, the big question outside of Duggan's growth is the offensive line, because they've got some good weapons on the outside. They've got a 5-star running back coming in Zach Evans. They've got another kid named Darwin Barlow, who's a standout recruit out of Newton, Texas. So they feel like they got some talent at running back. The big question is, are they going to have some running lanes, running lanes and pass protection up front?
Gary Patterson is either the absolute perfect coach for Zach Evans, or I think it's not going to go middle of the road. And that's not saying anything about Gary Patterson. It's more about Zach Evans, because of, he's had some issues coming out of high school, and he probably needs a guy like Gary Patterson. So it's either going to hit the right button or it's not. Am I wrong in that?
No, and that's a belief a lot of guys have. And from what I've heard, Zach Evans has been great since stepping on campus, but he's embraced his role, and I think, some of his recruitment, everyone says he's a good kid, but I think he might have gotten kind of caught up in the recruiting hype and hoopla, and all that stuff, which, kind of, changed some things, but there's no question he's a great talent. But with that being said, he's not going to walk in and just be a day one starter. I said Darwin Barlow will push for the certain job at running back, and I think both are going to see the field plenty this season for TCU. But certainly, Gary Patterson, he's kind of like Jerry Jones. He believes in his program, believes that he brings some of these kids in, who have some character concerns or questionable things, that they can get them on the right track. And just like the Cowboys, TCU's hit on a few. They've also missed on a few, but, they do believe that they're going to put them in a position to succeed.
Drew Davidson, 4-War Star Telegram, with us here on SicEm365 Radio as we begin our Big 12 tour. That was Drew Davison here on SicEm365 Radio, and we'll do Monday, Wednesday, Friday on those college football focus previews next week.
Media days in the Big 12 because we didn't have one. Coming up next, high school football, Hearn and Italy on SicEm365 Radio. Earlier today, I started the day with a run. Nice and hot, humid, just like baking hot. But I needed that. I needed to run. I needed to get sweat out of my system. Thinking about the radio show, thinking about lots of things. And I started that run at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness. Me and 4 miles. Me and running down Lakeshore Drive and up the hill towards McLennan Community College, around the baseball field and up some of those parking lot. And, oh, God, the hills on that campus are insane. But when it was done, it was so good. You learn that, and you have to know that staying in shape or being fit or making sure that you keep the weight where you want it is a commitment. If you want to eat some really good food, then you got to work out even better and harder and more consistently. That doesn't mean that I won't have myself something really nice like a bowl of jambalaya or gumbo or even a burger or a pizza. But if I'm going to do that, I know I have to work out. And so today, a little bit later than normal, I ran 4 miles in the heat. Everything was drenched. But that's how you start your day if you want to stay. Or maybe tonight, because the gym is open Monday through Sunday, and now even open more longer hours on Sundays at 7 a.m. And on top of that, that's what I learned working out with my trainer, Christy London. Whether it's weights or it's cardio or both. If you're working out with your trainer or by yourself, it's an attitude. It's a culture. It's a commitment. It's a tradition. It's the way it should be. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco, and they're doing all these renovations where it's opened up this massive space when you walk to the front door, and more renovations to come that are for you, accommodations and amenities. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Do you love Friday Night Lights? Would you like to have a bigger role than just watching the action to ensure the games are played fairly and safely? The Waco football chapter of the Texas Association of Sports Officials, or TASO, can make that happen. The 2020 Texas high school football season is right around the corner, and we need you to be a part of it. There's a shortage of officials across the state in all sports, and you can help. If you love the game and want to be a part of the solution, you can help our local student athletes continue to participate in games they love. Never officiated before? Don't worry. Waco Football Chapter can help and prepare you to make the right call. And right now, Introduction to Football Officiating class is accepting registrations. Make your first grade call today by looking us up and contacting us on Facebook at Waco Football Chapter or at our website, wacofootballchapter.com. Find out more about the Waco Football Chapter of the Texas Association of Sports Officials, or TASO. Go to wacofootballchapter.com.
Texas Board Certified Personal Injury Trial Lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers
Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
What are you supposed to do when you pull up behind a truck that doesn't even have a hitch? I mean, it's like looking at plumber's crack. Do you cover your kids' eyes, look away, and switch radio stations? Hi, Jay here from Pickup Outfitters, asking for your help to end this embarrassing form of truck nudity. If you have a truck, at some point you need to pull something. It could be a trailer to haul stuff off to the dump, maybe a jet ski, a boat, an RV, a horse trailer, even just a bike rack. The point is, put a hitch on your truck's backside. And at Pickup Outfitters, we actually install more hitches than anything else. Whether it's a receiver hitch, a gooseneck, or a fifth wheel, we'll cover your aspirations to not drive a nude truck. And all hitches are covered by the Pickup Outfitters lifetime installation guarantee. So cover your rear end with a new hitch from Pickup Outfitters on Lake Air Drive in Waco, where we're fighting to end truck nudity in Central Texas. Check them out on our website at createacommotion.com/hitches.
This is SicEm 365 Radio.
This high school football segment is sponsored by Southwest Sports Medicine. We'll get you back in the game.
Here we go, a couple of high school football programs. We'll also hear from La Vega's Don Hyde. I was out there today, just kind of visited with him about broadcasts that we have coming up. That's week 2 against Conley. I released that schedule. That new game they have is with Cal Allen. Hearn, Ricky Sargent's done a heck of a job with them. He joins us now on SicEm 365 Radio. Ricky, what's this week been like? And did you ever, in your coaching career, ever take maybe the first week of workouts for granted? And because of what we've been through, was this week any extra special for you?
Oh, this week was extra special, but I've never taken any year for granted. But it was extra special because of what's going on and all the guidelines and making sure that we take care of our kids, our coaching staff, and our families, making sure that everybody is safe and doing the right things.
Ricky, when you had the kids all out there together for the first time, what was that feeling like after months of having to be apart?
You know, me personally, I was excited because there was a time when we were without our kids. We were at our homes and we couldn't see our kids, and I was so worried about how they were doing, during this pandemic. But now we have an opportunity to visit with our kids and to let them know that we're in this thing together and we will make it through this.
Coach, just how nice is it to kind of know what the future looks like now as opposed to back in the spring when we really had no idea what about this time of the year was going to look like? And there's still plenty of questions, mind you, but just to kind of have some clarity, how refreshing was that for once this year?
Oh, it was very refreshing to hear that we at least have an opportunity to get with our kids and to get a season started.
Ricky, you had success last year. You guys went from 5 wins to 9 wins. You got a couple of rounds deep in the playoff. Of course, Micah Smith put up huge numbers for you. Your expectations of what you've now set and what you expect this year?
We expect to compete for the district championship. And Micah, he's our leader. Whenever you have an opportunity to have a starting quarterback for 4 years, you have a chance. And we're just looking forward to Micah being a good leader for us. And we're just looking forward to the season.
By the way, a couple of notes about Micah Smith. And it's not just Micah Smith, but last year threw for almost 2,500 yards, 25 touchdowns, 53, I think, or so in his career. He had 527 yards in a game against Lexington, 467 against Thrall. How good a player has he been, and is he someone that he can dominate a game for you?
Well, he proved that against Lexington. He certainly dominated that game. But Micah is one of those athletes that I don't think has really reached his full potential. He has a lot of room to grow, but we're glad to have him on our team.
What's the shorthand like with a player like that, or any player you have that's been a starter for so long? How much easier does it make it when you're coaching them up?
Well, with a guy like Micah, we just want to make sure that he stays focused and don't get the big head and become that leader that he's potentially the potential leadership abilities that he has for us.
You've been around Waxahachie, Wichita Falls, Hershey. You were at Jasper, Southwestern, of course, Assemblies of God, and in the university as well. You won a state championship when you were at Waxahachie. Was that with Scotty Phillips? Were you there when he was there? Was that same time?
Yes, sir. Scotty Phillips. Yes, indeed.
Yep.
I was with Coach Phillips.
That was a heck of a team.
I was the defensive back coach for him.
Yeah, I was. He's, of course, was at Groveton and a couple of other places, went up to the Plano area, had great success. Your alma mater, Bishop College and then Prairie View. And we've heard more, Ricky, because of all of what's happened these last 2, 3, or 4 months about the historically black colleges, and more athletes are starting to look at options from that. Now, I know Bishop College is defunct, but Prairie View is also a part of your alma mater. How much do you think that would help, that if some players started to look that direction because of the way things are today? If they did, how much would that help?
Oh, I think it will help. I had a wonderful 4 years at Bishop College and receiving my master's at Prairie View. Prairie View now has built a stadium that's state of the art, and I think it will be a great opportunity for a lot of student athletes.
Thanks for your time, buddy. Appreciate it, Ricky. We'll be in touch. No question. You guys are going to be good. 7-5, 9-3 last year, I believe the record. 19 returning Letterman, 7 on each side of the ball. They were 5-5 the year before that. So that's Ricky Sargent, head coach at Hearn. Micah Smith's put up huge numbers for him and for the program as well. We'll hear in a minute from Craig Horn from Italy. They were 8-4 last year after his first year there. They were 4-6. We'll have him on momentarily. Again, if you want to know our high school football coverage, back when Brian and Ashley and Colt contacted us about hosting this show on SicEm365 Radio. Craig, you were a part of that conversation the first day on that Saturday. Paul the next day as well. They even said, hey, no, we want you to do that. And that's what we do. And we're going to have 1 or 2 coaches almost every day, 8 to 10 or 12 head coaches and players and athletes on as long as the season continues each week on this radio show.
Yeah, we will. We're very much looking forward to high school football. I mean, I think it would be kind of silly to just talk Baylor for 3 hours a day every day. I think you'd very quickly run out of content, and that's not the reason why we're going to talk about other things. It's just that I don't know that I would enjoy doing that every single day and just sticking to one single thing. So if we've got the resources and the contacts and the ability the knowledge to cover a lot of other things, then yeah, that's what we're going to do. So high school football will be a big part. I mean, Baylor will always be the main focus, of course, but whenever anything's going on with them. But no, we're going to be all over Texas high school football, and we'll have the best coverage in this area. I promise that, and we'll have a lot of other great coverage of the NFL and everybody else that's getting back to it now.
No question about it. Craig Horn from Italy will join us in just a second. He's on with Paul right now, getting set up for that. And the Gladiators, Keith Davis, one of the great graduates of Italy High School, of course, went on to play at Sam Houston State with the Cowboys and NFL as well. Been on this show a handful of times as well. Craig Horn joins us, year 3 at Italy with the Gladiators. Craig, thanks for your time. You kind of moved the needle up a little bit last year. You've won wherever you have been. What is the step now and the expectations of what you do year 3?
Well, the kids have a business-like approach, and usually once the kids gain that maturity and that confidence, you're ready to take off on more of a statewide level. So, our kids, I think, expect to compete with just about anybody on any given Friday night. At all these various stops I've had, those recipes are a little different everywhere, and ours is probably a little unique in Italy and to Italy. But once your kids gain some maturity and work ethic, and expectations seem to come along with that. You put in the blood, sweat, and tears, and you're not going to go down without a fight. And kids are fight for 48 minutes, you got a pretty good chance. So the expectations expectations, compete regionally. We got some good teams. Bostonville, Crawford's in there. That whole district's loaded. Actually, Kohler's in there. But we think we can compete and play for a regional title.
What's it like to see the kids finally start believing that they belong, and that when they kind of translate that belief into work ethic?
Well, I mean, it's satisfying because at the end of the day, that's what we're doing is we're molding young men, and Lord knows the world needs more of us, and more good men out there. And the first thing you got to do is you got to have a work ethic, and you got to have character to get up and go to work. And so I'm proud that the kids embrace hard work and toughness, because that's what it's going to take for them to be successful husbands and fathers. And so, that's where I think you get the most fulfillment out of it. And then, of course, it makes it really fun. You go out there on Friday night and you compete. And again, once you get to this point, losses aren't ever easy to take, but, you can swallow them because your kids are giving you honest efforts and they're preparing and doing everything they can do to give themselves a chance to be successful. So, once you get to this point, it's really satisfying that your kids have bought in, and you're not handing out lollipops and candy canes out there. Hard work is just that. It's hard work, and being mentally and physically tough, again, doesn't come without its tears and its blood. So it's very rewarding for kids to turn into young men and embrace things that are tough.
Coach, I believe you have 19 starters returning this year, and of course, at your school, there's some guys playing both ways. But that's a nice start, right? Having all that experience. I mean, that's something a lot of other coaches would be envious of, I would think.
Sure, it is, and when we first got to Italy, we had some young kids that we relied heavily on, and that were freshmen, and now we're gonna reap some of those benefits of those hard knocks. But we've got 10 starters back on offense and 9 back on defense. And I tell you what, the good surprise is we got some sophomores, 3 or 4 that come to mind, and probably 3 freshmen that right now we could put in and start and do a really good job for us. So that's going to build us some depth and bridge that gap when these seniors leave. And we feel like we got a tremendous 8th grade class that has probably, potentially 7, 8 starters, as freshmen. They're a pretty good group. So, it's good to see these sophomores step up and not just sit back and say, well, we returned 10 and 9 starters and I'm just going to stand on the sideline. They're out there working and competing, and they've been a pleasant surprise.
This guy, Craig Horns, won 16 years in coaching. Well, that 16 when he was hired at Italy, 2017 state championship. Tenaha lost to Munster in the championship game, got a hell of a record. Been at Lamarck, among others as well, was at Itasca at one point. Hubbard, and then, of course, went on to Tenaha. Now, is it Italy or Italy? I know you're going to give me that again, Greg.
It is Italy.
Yeah,
I-T-L-Y. I-T-L-Y. That's right.
Italy is shaped like a boot. Italy is just south of Dallas.
That is right. Yeah, and it's kind of crazy that all those stops kind of have something unique. Your Wampus Cat at Itasca, and of course, being in Lamarck is just a tremendous experience and was awesome. And of course, Hubbard, you're not a Jaguar, you're a Jagger, and then Tenaha is what it is as well. So some pretty unique places and some special people and all this stuff.
I'm glad you did that because I was about to say all that. The Wampus Cat's still probably my favorite, although I'm a Rohawk, Randolph Rohawk. That was a unique. Wampus Cat's one of the great mascot names, and now Italy, and then, of course, that run with Lamarck, and what a great history and tradition they have. Thank you, Craig. Appreciate you jumping on with us.
I appreciate it. Hey, you guys be safe.
You too. That's Craig Horn, head coach at Italy, with us on SicEm365 Radio.
I've got a couple of just notes to pass along here. Princeton has announced it's going fully online for fall 2020. So that's just a university note as a lot of schools try to figure out what exactly they are going to do. So they are going to do that. And That's the question now of, like, okay, if Princeton's shutting down, what does Rutgers do? And then Rutgers is a Big Ten school, so just saying that's something to kind of monitor with all these crossing to the states and everything like that. Also, Conference USA has announced their plans. They will play 8 conference games on their original dates, and the schools will be allowed to play up to 4 non-conference games. So they are going the same route, basically, as the American Athletic Conference. They've also pushed back their title game to December 5th. But, yeah, Conference USA will play up to 12 games, but will at least keep their conference schedules the same.
When we come back, the 5 o'clock hour at 5:15, we'll have a couple of more things, a couple of legal notes on athletes in trouble. And maybe, well, not just athletes, but someone with the Angels organization from that, remember that young man that died in the hotel room?
Tyler Skaggs.
You'll have that in just a second. Calvin Watkins of Dallas Morning News will join us. Mike McCarthy had a media session today. He'll join us at around 5:15. It's 5:03 on SicEm365 Radio.
If you are in the market for a new home and you need someone you can trust who's going to be fun to look at houses with, who's going to listen to what you have to say, who's going to say, okay, here's what you want in a house. Here's what the bedrooms. Here's what you want as far as a backyard or amenities. Who's going to hear that, and he's going to find something you wouldn't even have maybe even thought about on your own. You need to call my good buddy Lance Donaldson and the Donaldson family team, brokered by eXp Realty, and let them be your go-to source as you search for that perfect home. Give Lance a call, 254-214-3713, or online at lancedonaldson.exprealty.com. I can't tell you how great of a guy Lance is. He's really easy to talk to, and it's going to be a stressful thing. You want somebody who's going to hear you, who's going to take that stress away. That is Lance Donaldson. Again, 254-214-3713, or online, lancedonaldson.exprealty.com.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131, 254-598-8131.
The biggest summer sale is still on at your friend in the car business, Allen Samuels in Waco. The summer clearance event is where there's still 0% for 72 and no payments for 90 days on almost everything. The world's most awarded SUV is on sale. Jeep Grand Cherokee with 0 for 72 financing and no payments for 90 days. Or choose Jeep Cherokee, Jeep Renegade, or Jeep Compass. All 0 for 72. Update your ride and save at Allen Samuels.
It's the heat of the summer, but the real heat is what you're cooking on the grill, smoker, or in the oven. So Waco Custom Marketplace can be your go-to playmaker for summertime grilling. You can't go eat anywhere else? Be your own chef with custom ordered and cut ribeyes, sirloins, fillets, New York strips with a focus on high-quality beef at a competitive price. Waco Custom Marketplace also has fresh deli cuts with sliced turkey, ham, pepperoni, or corned beef. Waco Custom Marketplace also your home for the freshest seafood in town. Salmon, shrimp, mahi-mahi, great priced chicken products, whole birds, tenders, chicken breast, and wings. Waco Custom Marketplace with smoked items unique to Waco, house-made bacon, summer sausage, boudin, hot links, and German sausage. Every seasoning for every occasion, grilling, baking, or frying. Your hometown grocery store with canned goods, pasta, fresh baked bread, buns, chips, sauce, condiments to pickles, charcoal and lighter fluid, cold beer and wine, best kolaches in Waco, mouth-watering cinnamon rolls, and here for the community every single day, helping you avoid the long lines in crowded stores, serving quality products to the Waco community. Go online for the weekly value boxes. Family owned and operated Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lakeyard Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
The 5 o'clock hour is brought to you by Edward Jones and financial advisor Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Greg Smoke, Paul, and David Smoke. Here we go. SicEm365 Radio. Calvin Watkins, all over the Cowboys. Dallas Morning News joins us. And Mike McCarthy, Calvin, with a media session today. What were the maybe highlights, one or two things in particular that came out that you remember the most of what he said?
Well, one of the things he said, he kind of confirmed that Leighton Vanderlish is going to be a middle linebacker this year. That was one of the main things. And Dak Prescott has been looking good in off-season workouts. Well, not so much off-season workouts in the, 4 or 5 days they've been together at the Star. Dak, he said, has looked impressive. All the players are, following the protocol set forth because we're in a COVID-19 situation. And those are the main highlights, and that's about it right now.
With the Cowboys really not getting hit hard by opt-outs, I mean, is this Cowboy luck or what do you attribute that to?
It's very early in the game. They've had 3 opt-outs and nobody of major significance. There was a thought DeMarcus Lawrence might opt out because his wife is pregnant, but he decided to show up. Ezekiel Elliott did test positive for the virus. This was, months before, where we are now, training camp players getting tested every day. So, very early in the game. So I wouldn't be patting myself on the back yet because so much can happen between now and, say, next week when we have our first practice. So this is a virus that's very unpredictable. Players are very unpredictable. We're seeing baseball players test positive and games get canceled. So we'll see what happens.
I'm sure there's a little bit of pressure off of Dak's shoulders now that the contract situation has been resolved for at least the time being, but he's also been up to some various other things as well. Calvin, can you go a little bit into the letter that he wrote to Kevin Stitt, the Oklahoma governor, in regards to death row inmate Julius Jones? It's been a big story over the last 24 or so hours, and for anybody that might have missed out on it, can you kind of fill in the blanks?
Yeah, Dak sent a letter to the governor of Oklahoma and to the board of parole, seeking the release of Julius Jones, who's on a death sentence. Back in 2002, he was convicted of a carjacking where he murdered a businessman in Eden, Oklahoma, right outside his house. Jones apparently has an alibi, and it wasn't presented in court. There was some racial slur was apparently made by one of the jurors, allegedly. So there was a lot of things going on in that case. And this man has served at least, he went to jail in 99, 2000, something like that. So he's been in jail for 20 years, it seems. So I think, Prescott, along with Russell Westbrook, Trae Young, some other players, Kim Kardashian West, a lot of celebrities have come forth to try to tell the governor of Oklahoma, you need to let this guy go. Now, Julius Jones has exhausted all his appeals in the state of Oklahoma. So now what he's hoping for is a continuance in the sense so that the board will present something to the governor and say, let him go. And the governor has to make that decision. But that has not occurred yet, and that won't occur until at the end of this year. And if the governor denies his release, then he would go, obviously, there's a possibility he could get executed. But the state of Oklahoma has not had an execution since 2015 because they've had several executions that have not gone, I don't know how to say this, have not been executed the right way, in essence. So they've halted their executions because of procedural issues. So even if he does not get this stay of execution, when he actually is executed is up in the air as well because of the state's issues with actually implementing the actual execution of death row inmates. I don't know if that all made sense.
Yeah, no, it did. It's an interesting. Glad you brought that up. It does. It's not quite the same, but it kind of brought into play what Maya Moore did. It really. It's very. That was an amazing story. She gave up her career for a while and the man was released from prison as well. And it's all about wanting to get it right. And it's cool that Dak. He didn't like raise his hand in the air and say, I did this. The story comes out. It's great. I appreciate you kind of clarifying exactly what it was like. Your thoughts about the Cowboys and the wide receivers and Ezekiel Elliott and all the weapons that they have in the way that Mike McCarthy coaches, what he's done when he was with the Packers. Who is the quarterback? He had, obviously, Aaron Rodgers. What is the value of the running back when you have Zeke Elliott? It should be high. Is it different under Mike McCarthy?
I would say when he was in Green Bay, the best running back he had was Eddie Lacy. And I think he made a Pro Bowl once or twice with McCarthy. So those offenses in Green Bay were pass heavy because you had the great Aaron Rodgers and you had all those fantastic receivers. Here in Dallas, McCarthy said today, as a matter of fact, that Zeke Elliott will be a priority in this offense. This might be the best running back he's had as a coach in the NFL. So I think this offense can do a lot of great things. I mean, last year they led the league in total yards with Jason Garrett and Kellen Moore. So imagine what they could do with Mike McCarthy and Kellen Moore running the offense. So, and then obviously, I'm sure you guys know, Amari Cooper said he thinks the Cowboys are going to have 3 1,000-yard receivers themselves, C.D. Lamb and your boy Michael Gallup. And McCarthy said he liked how Amari's thinking there, because that means they're going to throw the ball all over the field. But he also mentioned that, hey, Zeke Elliott's going to get his touches too. So I think there's a lot of positive things to go with McCarthy in his offense.
You could make the argument that for the most part, McCarthy, especially the last few years, hasn't had skilled players like this at any position other than quarterback. In fact, the quarterback is actually the only downgrade he has.
Yeah, I would say so.
I'm not trying to knock Dak. I'm just,
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is going to Hall of Fame, no doubt. No, I would say maybe the receivers, he has some pretty good receivers in Green Bay. I wouldn't dismiss the guys he had there. He's probably got a better offensive line here. But imagine, if you think about it, look what he did in Green Bay. And there were some fantastic offenses. However, in the last 3 or 4 years of his time there, those offenses got stagnant, and they ranked near the bottom of the league offensively. So we do assume that he should be a lot better with this group he's got right now with the Cowboys.
Randy Gregory voiced his, frustrations here in the last couple of days over not yet being reinstated. Is this just a matter of him, just needing to realize that this takes some time, Calvin, or does he have any type of a point as far as his frustrations go?
As many drug tests as he's failed, he needs to sit down and be quiet, and I asked someone in the organization about Randy, and he had some similar thoughts. The NFL is not trying to screw Randy Gregory. It's just a matter of, look, it takes time to go through this stuff. They've already gone through it with Randy Gregory before. Like, it was 2 years ago when he came back, and then he messed up. Then he said he wasn't going to come back. Now he's coming back again. I think the NFL's has some more important things to worry about, like the COVID-19. They've had Antonio Brown's issues come up. They made a ruling on him, I think, a week ago or so, where I think he's going to miss the first 8 games of the season for whoever he plays for. So I think they get around to Randy Gregory. I think Randy just needs to relax and wait his time And hopefully, for his sake, he won't fail any more tests, because really, Randy Gregory's issues are on Randy Gregory, not anybody else.
Yeah, I like you're right. And that when that came out yesterday, that's kind of our same philosophy. I understand he might be frustrated, but he right now, there's a lot more important things on than Randy Gregory getting his 9th chance. And so, yeah, no question. No doubt about it. All right, Calvin, thank you. We've heard, and we've had others that cover the Cowboys about how this is all going to come down as far as coverage and everything right now. We just received our Baylor football fall camp media schedule. Everything post-practice is going to be on Zoom. How has that been to kind of deal with it that way? And you can't really – you could still get in touch with players because you have all the Rolodex from Rolodex, whatever the context. That's old school right there, baby. You could still be in touch with players and coaches, whatever, but how much of a challenge does that bring, or is that for you?
Well, you look at it like this. Everybody's in the same boat. We're all getting everyone on a Zoom call. I doubt that. I'd be surprised if we go to any road games this year. Just because, every city and state has their own guidelines to how many people they're going to allow in the stadium or a venue. We will not see any player in person. We might not see McCarthy in person. We sure as hell not going to see Jerry Jones in person. So everything's going to be a Zoom call. And that's just how it is right now. You just got to hope that things will get better at the end of this year once we get through the flu season. And in 2021, we can go back to normal in a sense, or what we're used to. So you just got to suck it up and just deal with it as best you can. If they're saying wear a mask when you go into Starbucks, wear your mask. And, we got to do Zoom calls. No one likes it, but this is the new normal in a sense. And that's it.
Hey, Calvin, just admit it. The thing you're going to miss the most is not seeing me at every game. I get it.
That's right.
Yeah. Well,
exactly right.
That means you guys don't get those damn walk-offs as people who write. You don't get those walk-offs that always get some nuggets that we don't get. But I understand that's part of the business, man. It's great hearing from you, Calvin. Hope you've been safe. Sounds like you're doing well. Appreciate your time. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys, stay out of trouble down there.
Yeah, we will try our best, by the way. And again, that's Calvin Watkins. Craig, you got the Baylor media schedule up. We'll have that. I'm going to have a couple of minutes that I had from earlier today. Just dropped in on Don Hyde as they were shoulder pads. Of course, players now in pads, and they won't have their first scrimmage. There's one scrimmage. It's not for another couple of weeks. Season starts, the high school football season scheduled to start 3 weeks from yesterday. Now, whether or not that ends up being the case, I hope to God it does, but that's kind of as we continue on. I'll have a couple of minutes with Don Hyde in a second. The Baylor media schedule. Tomorrow they start practicing. Because I wasn't sure about this.
Sure about what?
About the access, because otherwise we would be there. Then we would meet the coach inside the indoor facility or outside, whatever. But Dave Aranda will have a post-practice media session tomorrow at 6. Tuesday, Ron Roberts and select student athletes. Larry Fedora the following day and student athletes. On Saturday, a week from Saturday, they'll have Aranda again. The 17th, Joey McGuire, select athletes. The 19th, George Munoz, and athletes. And the 21st, Matt Powledge, who we just had on today, and select student athletes.
It's going to be interesting to see how they do this with Zoom. I guess we'll have to get in a queue or whatever to ask questions, and that'll be interesting with the student athletes as well. I mean, it's cool that they're making them available. So
I wish the only thing, I'm being selfish here because that's just what is every one of those except the one on Saturday, or to the Saturday the 15th, is as we're done. Yeah. So we'll have to wait till the next day, and of course it'll be rehashed by a lot of different people.
Well, no, I mean, I can sign in before we get off the air.
It's better than if we were. It's better than if it was at 3:30 and it was in the middle of the show.
Yeah, well, we could at least record it somehow, or the guys at SicEm.com.
I got it right here.
I know, but we're done. Every one of those times.
Oh, you want to do it? Oh, yeah.
We want to be able to have, if it's 3:30, we can grab it in some way, and then we can turn around and have it on the show, but we'll just have it the next day. And of course, it'll be seen by a lot of different people. When we come back, a couple of legal notes I mentioned about players. DeAndre Baker of the Giants. Quinton Dunbar might be the luckiest man in the world. And then the story of the Angels
and what's going on with them? What did you just do that?
Tiger missed a birdie putt earlier. They were showing it again. I was like, if this happened again, it just made me mad.
Yeah, he's missed every putt that he's had for birdie and par from anywhere around 8 to 12 feet. This is SicEm365 Radio.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine. It is the weekend, and maybe you're sitting around with your loved ones and have a cold, frosty beverage. Well, if you're a craft beer fan, you need to get to Riverbend Liquor and Wine. They've got the best selection anywhere in town. They've got a great walk-in fridge. You go in there, you find what you like. It's absolutely awesome. I like going in. It's fun. I have a blast looking at what they've got at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Plus, if you're worried about that, if you're worried about social distancing or whatever, they've got the drive-thru. You just go in, drive up, tell them what you want, give them your money, and get on your way. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, a hidden gem in Waco, Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131, 254-598-8131.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Dr. Kent Petty wants you to be the highest performance man you want to be. Are you sluggish, lack energy? Do you suffer from low sex drive? Petty Clinic Low T offers discounted comprehensive lab work to check on your various levels that can make a difference. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy and stamina and improved sex drive, but also the healthiest and high performance man. Screening for cardiac heart disease risk, EKG, cholesterol panel, blood pressure monitoring, testosterone or growth hormone deficiency, male infertility, hepatitis C, and prostate cancer screening. Petty Clinic Low T offers replacement therapy for testosterone or growth hormones, weight management therapy, and nutritional advice. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy, stamina, and improved sex drive, but the healthiest and highest performance man. PettyClinicLowT.com, PettyClinicLowT.com on Old Hewitt Road, just off Highway 84 in Woodland. PettyClinicLowT.com.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at TexasTrialLawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
This is SicEm365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The SicEm365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
I made it clear that back when the Big 12 had not yet decided what they were doing with their schedule, if they were to add a game or two on the conference schedule, that there's a couple of things would not happen. In a random lottery-type setting, that the game Texas and Oklahoma would not be picked again. It wouldn't be. Everyone else is free game. Probably not Oklahoma and Oklahoma State either. In the SEC, they have finally released, although there's still some things they have to release on some dates, times, whatever. But they released who everybody would play as their additional 2 games in what will be their 10-game SEC conference-only schedule.
Yes, they did. So now we know who everybody is going to be officially playing, and we can start off with Texas A&M. I mean, they make the most sense, being the only Texas school in the conference. A&M actually had a far more favorable schedule this year than what they faced last year, but it'll be a little bit tougher now, no doubt about it, because A&M's extra 2 games will be going up against Florida and Tennessee. So Gators and Vols.
So they lose that crushing schedule a year ago. It looked like they get a break, and then they get 2 teams, because Tennessee's a little bit better. Getting better. Go ahead.
Yeah, they will host Florida, and they will go to Knoxville to play Tennessee. So yeah, no, it's definitely not as ideal as it potentially could have been for the Aggies, because that's a team in Florida that's pretty good. They're going to be really good on defense, and then with Tennessee, yeah, they're kind of riding some momentum right now after being able to make a bowl game last year when it looked like they were going to have to fire Jeremy Pruitt pretty early on in his tenure. So A&M will play Florida and Tennessee. Also looking around, Alabama's extra 2 games, Missouri and Kentucky.
That's rough for them.
Really got the raw end of the deal there. Alabama always getting the raw end of the deal. Arkansas can now add Georgia and Florida.
See, that's so ridiculous
to their schedule.
So ridiculous.
So today,
God knows who Vanderbilt and Kentucky are going to play.
Yeah.
Let's see here. The worst one, though, and we can go over them all, but the worst
that's
one.
Pretty hard right there.
I mean, that's pretty bad. But it was, I believe, Missouri, who is now, it is Missouri. So Missouri has added LSU and Alabama to their schedule this year with a new SEC burst.
Well, I want to know how they did this.
I don't know that. I don't know that.
No, you don't.
I really do.
No,
I really do.
I
want to know how the sausage is made.
They're protecting the country club.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, look, okay, so let's just run them down here. Alabama's playing Missouri, and I don't have all of the home and away.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah,
it's Kentucky at home, Missouri on the road. I've got it here, yeah.
So Alabama's playing Missouri and Kentucky. Arkansas is adding Georgia and Florida.
Georgia at home, Florida on the road. Doesn't matter. They'll lose both.
Auburn will play Tennessee and South Carolina. LSU will play Missouri and Vanderbilt. I mean, come on, dude. Mississippi State will play Georgia and Vandy, so that's kind of split.
Oh, God.
Ole Miss will play South Carolina and Kentucky, so they got a pretty good deal there. And A&M, like I mentioned, Florida and Tennessee. Over on the other side, Florida plays Arkansas and A&M. Georgia plays Arkansas and Mississippi State. Kentucky will play Alabama and Ole Miss. Kentucky, yep. Missouri, LSU, and Bama. South Carolina gets Auburn and Ole Miss. Tennessee gets Auburn and A&M. And Vanderbilt gets Mississippi State and LSU.
Well, and see, Mississippi
Not
State.
one elite program got hammered.
No. Mississippi State, though, that's going to be a tough out because it's Mike Leach. They're not going to be great. They're not going to be great, but they're going to be annoying.
Every single mid-level and below program got, in some cases, just screwed on.
And Missouri got screwed the worst. LSU and Bama.
Can you imagine? You're all of a sudden, I mean, it's great games, but there's no fans. It would be great because you could have games.
Eli Drinkwitz.
That would be like, for example, if you were whoever in the Big 12, you're going to get, and there's really not, we don't know who the second team is. You do in the SEC because there's like 4 of them. Alabama, LSU, Georgia, Florida, Auburn, there's those, right? And in the Big 12, that would be like let's say in a normal year, that would be like Oklahoma, and we don't know. maybe Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, or Oklahoma and Texas, or
But
Oklahoma.
just on paper, it'd be Oklahoma and Texas.
Yeah,
It'd be like getting those
just
added.
to the name. It's like if you were in the Big Ten and you drew two people from the opposite, and you got Ohio State and Penn State.
Yeah. Yep, that's basically the equivalent. So, yeah, if you're looking at the biggest of the big dogs in that conference, Alabama gets Missouri and Kentucky. LSU, defending national champions, gets Missouri and Vanderbilt. A&M, I guess they're not in that category. They're with Auburn, though, and those others. I mean, they get kind of in the middle. But Florida, Tennessee, that's a tough draw for the Aggies. Like, that's not one of the easier ones. But, Florida, Arkansas, which who knows, quite frankly, with them, and A&M, that's not a terrible draw, but Florida A&M ought to be fun. And yeah, it's funny, but you would actually look at it and probably say LSU and Bama, the two schools who don't need the most help, probably got the easiest draws out of anybody.
Of course they did.
Yeah.
Of course they did. Yeah.
And the schools who really do need help are getting LSU and Alabama.
If there was at least either Florida, Alabama, Georgia, or LSU would have gotten two of the others. Now, I know some of them are in the same division.
Part of it, some of them might be already playing some of them too, I know. But
Yeah,
so
some of it's the imbalance.
There's a little bit of that. But that's like
the East doesn't have as many good teams as the West does.
I saw a couple of comments. They took care of their own. Yeah. But you're right. If in fact, for example, if Missouri has none of the dudes in the West, other than maybe Mississippi State and Arkansas, then that's why you get who you get. Because you didn't have them on, and so that's kind of almost just the odds, I guess you could say.
I mean, how does Alabama not play Florida or Tennessee? Unless are they already on there, perhaps?
I think they're playing Tennessee.
Okay, I mean, that is the thing, is they do have some of these matchups already lined up, so I take that back. But still, though, that is brutal if you are a, who was I saying, Missouri fan. You're like, what else could happen this year? Oh, by the way, your two extra SEC games are LSU and Alabama.
The legal stories that I've mentioned, DeAndre Baker, he and who was it? Quentin Dunbar. They're the ones that apparently wanted to rob friends of theirs in Miramar, Florida.
Well, there's a get-together to play like video games and stuff, and allegedly the original accusations were that those two basically stuck up the people at the party and forced them to hand over all their belongings or money or whatever. That was the original story.
DeAndre Baker, 4 counts. Will be prosecuted on 4 counts of robbery with a firearm. If convicted, he could face up to a minimum 10 years, up to life in prison. Meanwhile, his teammate in this particular incident, Quentin Dunbar, accused of stealing money and watches while armed with a semi-automatic weapon or firearms, stated Baker intentionally threatened victims with a firearm. They declined to file charges because of insufficient evidence
against Quentin Dunbar.
Yeah, Baker has
so
something.
Baker's been charged. Dunbar is not.
And part of the thing about Dunbar though was that Baker and Dunbar apparently just met like this thing.
They never meet. Do you think?
What a great first impression by Baker.
Does Baker start chirping?
Yeah. Here's the thing. I'll tell you. I don't know.
I mean, it depends on if there's anything to chirp about. I mean, it sounds like he might just be a complete moron, and he certainly is at least half of a complete moron, because you don't have a job in the NFL paying you very well. People with any brains don't risk that for a thrill, or whatever it is.
Look, and
there had been a thing too, like in leading to the story, where apparently, and I don't know if they ended up even being connected or not, but there was some talk about like how they had lost a bunch of money like a night or so before, and so maybe that was like. For, I guess, not so much for Dunbar, but for Baker, maybe that was motivation to try to get some money back, you know what I mean? But regardless, I mean, just a complete moron.
If Quentin Dunbar's story is true and he hardly knew DeAndre Baker, then, from what I know from heist movies, the most successful ones are the ones where you know people and you trust them.
Mm-hmm.
Like Ocean's 11, The Italian Job.
Eric Kay, former director of communications with the LA Angels of Anaheim, charged by the Drug Enforcement Agency for illegally supplying drugs to former and late pitcher Tyler Skaggs, who died in a hotel room in Texas at Arlington a year ago.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal. It was fentanyl that was the culprit, and that is it's the most dangerous drug right now. There's a lot of people dropping like flies.
What is it, a pain medicine?
It's like 100 times more lethal than heroin.
Oh, my God. I didn't,
they would... You give it to somebody who has like terminal
cancer, it's like the most hardcore painkiller that you can get. And what's happening is there's a lot of drug dealers out there and just a lot of, really terrible people. And because fentanyl's so powerful, I guess the idea is, when you're breaking down, like, whatever it is that you're breaking down, pills or coke or what have you, some people, like, for one reason or another, fentanyl ends up in the product. And it's either to, make it stronger, but then again, we're not dealing with, like, legit scientists here. So there are batches of pills that come out. Mac Miller was somebody, the rapper who died because of fentanyl. Prince was a fentanyl death. Tom Petty was a fentanyl death. And none of these people were trying to go take...
Michael Jackson, too, right?
I don't know for
sure.
He had a ton of stuff. But these are not people... Prince, Tom Petty, Tyler Skaggs, these were not people that were like, hey, go give me some fentanyl. No, they're trying to get something else, a painkiller, what have you. But because there's a lot of, drugs that are dirty and are mixed with stuff, fentanyl being a prime culprit, there's a lot of people dying because it's so powerful. And also, you just don't know how your body reacts to certain things. So I'm sure some people are keeling over just the double whammy of the strength of it and their body rejecting it. And then some people just bottom line think they're taking Vicodin and popping those and don't realize there's fentanyl in it, and they're overdosing very easily. So I'm sure that's what happened with Tyler Skaggs. Didn't realize that that was in what he was taking, and that's happening a whole lot. I mean, I just mentioned 3-4 celebrities that have died in the last couple years as a result of something similar. So, yeah, I'm glad that they're taking the main culprit to task, and he's facing the repercussions of this. And I'm sure he did nothing, intentional, obviously. He can go get Tyler Skaggs some drugs thinking, hey, this guy's going to die and I'm going to be charged for it in a couple years. So just very, very unfortunate. But you know what? That's the game you play when you start messing with the even harder drugs.
By the way, on Tuesday when we had Mac Rhodes on the show, did he not bring up the fact that the stadium was going to be 25% capacity?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Why?
Well, I mean, just a day or two later, you have stories out that are like that he's saying it's 25% when that was mentioned on Tuesday. I just wanted to check in on that.
Yeah.
That means about 11,250 fans, if they even get that many. Who knows how they'll break it all down.
And again, that's now their loftiest
Just curious
goal.
about the timing of when Mac Rhodes, the AD, said that.
Yeah. Wednesday. About
Tuesday at 4:30 or 4.
It was Wednesday this week, but yeah.
Yeah, he moved back a day.
This week he was on Wednesday.
Oh, because of Big 12 Media Days, yeah. Now, Jason Wolf in a story by, I don't know, Buffalo News. Spit, sweat, tears, blood, whatever. Why linemen led the NFL in opt-out. 67 players on 29 teams opted out. 32 of the 67. Now, when a normal game, you have 5 offensive linemen, 4 defensive linemen, sometimes 5 and 3. But 32 of the 67 opted out. Those are the 2 closest, most proximity positions, right?
Yes. The ones you're always going to hit. You're going to hit somebody on every play.
Yeah.
If you're doing it right.
You smash your face back into his. It's a sudden stop for both of you. Your face stops, but on your face keeps going. Particles, spit, sweat, tears, blood. If you're bleeding, whatever, as a lineman, your potential for what is being called a viral load close to you is high every snap.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I didn't even look at the breakdown. And, of course, that's also what Okung was looking at, about whether Okung from the Carolina Panthers. That'd be a blow to them. He's a good player.
Well, I mean,
you gave up a lot for him.
You make a trade of a guard to have him come and play, and, they were open to him being there for a while. So,
I mean, hey, man, he's played for, a few years. He's made some money. He's got a lot of health issues, obviously. And you know what? Sometimes, you want to live your dream. But, again, I pointed out, like, some guys retire at 30. Some guys, just don't want to play. But especially someone in his situation with so much of the question marks that we have about how it's all going to work. And if he's already got questions just in normalcy about his own health, then certainly I sympathize with those who are having to make a tough decision like that.
3 weeks from yesterday is when the high school football season is supposed to start. 2 weeks from today, you can start to have scrimmages, and I may be even on Thursday that week. That I think it's like the 19th or 20th or whatever. I had a chance to visit with La Vega's Don Hyde. We'll have that just 2 or 3 minutes about practice today, how they got into shells, which means some of the workout, the pads, whatever, helmets, shoulder pads when I was there. Went by Conley to do a little business with Shane Anderson as well. We'll come back with a 3-minute quick hit with Don Hyde. This is SicEm365 Radio. Waco Custom Marketplace. What do you have for the grill, for the smoker this weekend? How about custom cut bone-in ribeyes, thick as you want them, as thick as you want them, or fillets. I've discussed all the pictures that are sent to me. Now, I mean, it is not almost every weekend. Every weekend, somebody will post or send me a picture. Brian Etheridge, of course, one of the partners of SicEm365.com, posts pictures. He goes down for a road trip about every other week. And, I mean, he brings back a haul in his Yeti, from tri-tip to brisket to every steak cut you can imagine, much more. That's not all they have. But, my God, it's juicy, delicious beef. You can get as simple as hamburger patties. Or, of course, there's poultry and there's pork. You can get a chicken cut up into various pieces or a whole chicken. Or you can get all the sausage you want, various types of heat. And then, of course, the seafood with shrimp, lobster, mahi-mahi, and salmon, among some other things as well. And up and down the aisles, whether it's seasonings or sausage or things as simple as pasta, bread, maybe some box-type casserole dishes or whatever you want to make. And then there's also the refrigerator off to the right, like an old hometown grocery store with milk and soft drinks and cold beer. And then there are the pre-made meals, which they now have at Waco Custom Marketplace in the bakery section. Let's see, beef tips on rice, there's chicken spaghetti, there's meatloaf, and there's even Texas lasagna. Delicious. You heat it up because it's already been cooked and eat it as you want. And usually these are huge portions, plus the kolaches and donuts and bakery from cookies and bread and fresh baked bread every day, along with cakes and much more. Waco Custom Marketplace, your hometown grocery store, 425, open Saturday, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
The biggest summer sale is still on at your friend in the car business, Allen Samuels in Waco. The summer clearance event is where there's still 0% for 72 and no payments for 90 days on almost everything. The world's most awarded SUV is on sale. Jeep Grand Cherokee with 0 for 72 financing and no payments for 90 days. Or choose Jeep Cherokee, Jeep Renegade, or Jeep Compass. All 0 for 72. Update your ride and save at Allen Samuels.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The SicEm365 Radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
Matt Pallage started our show. Matthew Pallage started our show today. Special team safeties coach. Craig got him to kind of clarify Jalen Petrie, the star position.
As well as his all the connections in this staff that we weren't aware of.
A line to the field as an overhang, got to be able to blitz, play zone coverage, cover the slot. And I saw Travis Reeder put up on his Twitter page. He took the quote from us from the interview with Matthew Pallage. Thanks for the doing that as well, Travis. It was really good. Really, really good. And it's all those segments are up, including his segment with us today, which means we have all the position coaches, check, along with Randa 2 or 3 times since we started in April.
And something for everybody out there, if maybe you haven't joined the premium section yet, that's how you support us, other than by listening, of course, and spreading the word. But becoming a premium member of the website is how you financially help us out and keep this thing going strong. And one page to keep in mind is if we still, from time to time, I don't know if it's new listeners or people are just maybe not very tech savvy or like looking for an interview or whatever. If you go to SicEm365.com/media, there's an entire page with every interview, every show, the full show, certain segment broken down, but all of that is there, not just from SicEm365 Radio, but I think some of the other stuff that is done around the website's there as well. So SicEm365.com/media should take you to everything that is the media side of it, but the premium sections are where we'll have a lot of the notes that we maybe don't mention on here or that Coulter Grayson don't mention here, but that you can find out more information on, whether it's recruiting or a change in the program or what have you. But that's part of the deal. So yeah, definitely go bookmark that page if you're one of those people that's been asking, and where can I find this interview? It's all right there.
All of it's right there. And now, earlier today, I was able to go out because today it's not the first day of pads or shells, as they say, but I did go by just for businesses because of games that we're doing with Connolly this year, and the second game is with La Vega. So I dropped by with Don Hyde. Yeah, I saw, of course, the great offensive coordinator, Paul, your buddy from University High, and the Coleman, Leroy Coleman was running around. Elbow bumped him and a few others. But I had a chance to visit with Don Hyde earlier this morning, at La Vega Pirates practice.
Like I told our kids, this is my 27th year to do this. And for 26 years, I took it for granted that it was going to happen. And this year, with the possibility of being taken away, I think it just means that much more to you as a coach and as a player.
I asked a couple other guys that. Is that, you got the first practice on Monday, and was it different because of all the ramifications? And you're saying absolutely, yeah.
Certainly the excitement level is different. And there's a lot of things different. You check-in protocols and, holding kids outside while 5 of them go in the locker room and change clothes and, stuff that kids aren't used to, and mask on the field and social distancing 6 feet apart when you're on break. And, just all the things that are associated with it becomes monotonous as a coach, but you also know that if you don't do it, you're not going to be out here practicing.
I've talked to Kevin Hoffman, and he had a hard time trying to get games, and I know that others have as well, especially after what happened. Everyone had to start changing their schedule. Did you ever solidify what you're doing in Cal Allen and also Sunnyvale? Did you ever get that done?
Well, I had the option week 3 to play Sunnyvale or Cal Allen, and we were kind of waiting on Coach Settle. It's a lot closer, and we'd possibly be able to play a home-and-home situation. But yeah, I think Coach Settle found somebody else up there by him, and I don't blame him. So we've got West Orange Stark week 1, Conley week 2, Cal Allen week 3, Argyle week 4, and we're still looking for a 5.
I love your schedule.
Yeah, I mean,
I love it. I mean, you wouldn't expect anything else.
No, I mean we're going to play people that'll play us, and so I got called by the UIL the other day to ask if we could find a week 5 to play in the UIL 100-year Classic at AT&T Stadium, and I told them, I said, hey, we'll play anybody 5A Division 1 to our division. So if you can find somebody to play us, we'll show up.
When will you know that?
I don't know. I can't find anybody to play. So
okay. Okay.
So I guess they're looking for somebody for us to play. But I told them, you find us an opponent, we don't care who they are. We'll show up.
Don, what's the emotions of these young men right now being able to get back out here? They've been working out throughout the summer. Then there was the shutdown and the ups and downs. But what's it been like for them? What are the smiles you see on their face, even though this is hard, it's hot, whatever?
I think the biggest thing you see is not only are they excited to come to football practice, but I think they're also very excited about the possibility in 3 weeks of getting back in school and being around their friends and teachers. And so, they spend their whole life from grade kindergarten up through whatever, and once again, assume they're going to be in school, assume they're going to be around their friends every day, and that's been taken away from them in many aspects. And so they're just excited to be around each other and be a part of what we have going on here at La Vega High School.
Don Hyde, head football coach at La Vega, the Pirates, on SicEm365 Radio. All right, I love going over there. You talk about True Serum. He's going to give it to you. We've had Shane on. Those two guys, of course, Brian Bell, all these schools. And today we spoke with Craig Horn at Italy, and then also with Ricky Sargent at Hearn as we just grab and throw a big blanket around Greater Central Texas. So Travis Reeder, he's our Daily Bears. He put some things up. He was quoting the interview we had here on SicEm365 Radio. We appreciate Travis for giving us the credit because it was an interesting thing what Matthew Powledge said to Craig about the star position. He then put this up. It's probably the most confusing position in modern football. 15 years ago, everyone called it a Sam. Now it's Sam, nickel, field, linebacker, star. Some schools are doing eponymous stuff with their mascot like Bennett did with the Bear. You cannot drop eponymous on my timeline.
But yeah,
I went
it's like,
JUCO.
It's like, they had the Bear linebacker, which at Texas would have been like the Hornbacker or, whatever the heck it.
You can't drop eponymous.
Well, you can so long as Paul or I are here to translate it. Then it's fine. But yeah, thank you, Travis.
That just sounds good, eponymous.
Yeah, it's a nice word. But thanks, Travis, for breaking that down and providing some insight on that. And that seems to be a position that makes a lot of sense for a guy like a Jalen Petrie. So, that was one of the things that we were able to learn. And again, it's kind of hard to break down and rehash, but you can hear Powledge give pretty in-depth explanation on the connections this staff has with one another outside of just like the obvious one with, hey, you were with Ron Roberts previously. All right, outside of that, who do you know? Well, he knows a lot of the guys better than you realize, and vice versa all throughout that staff. So that's pretty cool.
So when Travis or Sam Bradshaw sit in a room, I would just have to leave.
Or sit there and soak it up. And he also mentioned that last
Grayson
year...
too, yeah.
Should I get you like a word of the day calendar? Would that be a thing you would use?
He also mentioned that Baylor played with a 6'2", 230-pound, quote-unquote, star last year, which is not going to be...
Blake Lynch?
I guess so.
Yeah.
But it will not fly in the new D. He said variety is the spice of life. So, yeah, I mean, Petrie makes a lot more sense. He is not 6'2", 230 playing that position.
I wish the best for him because he was the one that stayed, loyal when
you guys are losing it over Tiger.
Well, he hadn't made a damn putt today. I mean, he's made a couple of tap-ins. So what is he like?
What I worry about Tiger is
why are we watching him?
He does not love himself as much as we love him.
Yeah, that's bad. That's not good. He's going to end up, he's threatening. He's a bad shot away or two. He gets disinterested too quick. Eponymous.
So you want some big
time? By
the
way, eponymous means giving their name to something or giving a thing and named after a particular person.
Right, like the star position or the bear position or whatever. Want some bad news out of the team formerly known as the Redskins?
They had another player.
No, Deontay sent this. Washington running back Darius Geis faces 1 count of strangulation, a felony, 3 counts of assault and battery, and 1 count of destruction of property. Per Loudoun County Sheriff's Office, he turned himself into authorities this afternoon. Deontay also passed along that apparently Washington has also released now Darius Geis after these charges. So a guy who they drafted looked like
Mary
a bargain
Joseph.
like 2 years ago with
a
what they
tremendous talent.
just but when they drafted him a couple years ago, there was a reason why he went lower than he was probably supposed to. I think there were some off-the-field questions and just whatever other definitely injury questions about him, which came to fruition because he's basically been injured since he's been in the league. Last year, he was supposed to be featured and was not healthy enough to be featured all year long. And Adrian Peterson ended up being the guy. So, but guys, yeah, he's been in and out as far as health goes, and now he's very much out as far as being a member of the Washington Football Club.
So he's dealt with knee injuries, and now he's gone.
Yeah.
They cut him. They cut him, which means they know what is going on. He turned himself into authorities. My God, he never. Like Adrian Peterson at the age of 43 will be their starting tailback.
Probably, and then you've got Bryce Love. Who
was a nice pick from Stanford,
yeah.
But then, who knows with guys like that, right?
Think about this
Antonio
with Darius
Gibson
Geis,
from
though.
Memphis, a good player too.
All the guys, all the things he's done to get himself back from a knee injury twice, and I've been kind of watching his timeline.
His attorney hire is Peter D. Greenspun, a prominent criminal attorney in Northern Virginia whose past clients have included the DC Sniper and sportscaster Marv Albert. So that is who Geis has gone with as far as representation.
Yeah, Deontay just threw that to me. Why Deontay tried to contact me on Twitter and I didn't accept it.
Wow. I know he's not here anymore, but
he
abandoned.
He's got to go back to school. I mean, we appreciate everything he did all summer.
Let's see, depths for night steps. Let's see here.
He's too busy getting hyped over the new Spider-Man game and the Avengers game.
And there's a Suicide Squad game coming out.
Suicide Squad. And I'm going to be all over those as well.
I think I blocked him.
You blocked him? No, you did not.
He kind of became a free agent. All right, thanks to all of our guests today, and we appreciate everyone who was a part of it.
We did forget one guest this week. We forgot Jason King.
Wow.
Well, you know what? The last couple of times I've contacted him, he has not responded.
He did text me and go, hey, what's going on?
I guess it was a slower news week, the last 2 days for Baylor basketball versus the last 6 weeks. But, yeah, we need to probably reschedule. Certainly can't do it now.
Yeah.